safe lane dead zone hero, the kind of hero that's hard to gank. And then you have No-Tail, who likes to be able to use his carry to very actively move around the map and create space. You watch his Terrorblade games, and that guy's the most active Terrorblade by, like, actually exponentially than any other carry I've seen.
Yeah, terrifying, some would say.
Yeah, I mean, I think is that supposed to be a pun?
I think that's what.
No.
Okay.
Wait, how was that pun?
Oh, sorry. I think you just like the fact that he just like moves forward and he's just like that guy. He has the same kind of playstyle, and that's what I want to go back to, is that you said some of these players have certain kind of playstyles, and they just work with it, right? And No-Tail is one of those, and he just matches different heroes to that same playstyle, different patches.
Definitely a great guy to have in your team.
I think that's where we will see the difference. I agree. I think No-Tail and U9 are going to play different heroes, and that'll kind of determine the styles and the success of the two teams.
Yeah. In terms of the way Newbee approach this game, how do they look at it? Do they feel like they're the underdogs in this game? Do they forget about group stages and some of the mistakes that they had, or how do they approach it?
I think they have tons of confidence. I think they come in as like probably thinking they're like the best team in China, right there with IG, and they got their home crowd behind them. I think they'll be just fine confidence-wise.
Yeah, we spoke a little bit about that, gents, didn't we, in the group stage? What is it about big Chinese tournaments that the Western teams seem to do well at, and the Chinese teams seem to suffer at a little bit? DAC 2 years ago, EG won. Last year in Shanghai, it was Team Secret.
It's probably the sleep deprivation from the changed schedule. So they're like their reality isn't quite fully there. So they just play Dota.
Just play automatic.
I think it's about timing of the year. Honestly, yeah.
They've always had
every single time.
It's always been in the first 3 months.
Yeah, this timing of the year is really bad for China in general, most of the time, because we saw Shanghai, right, leading up into everyone knew they were going to be breaking up, so it was kind of like the Chinese shuffle is coming. They're not particularly invested. They're more focused on TI, so I think it was just more of timing. I don't think that will apply to this tournament, though.
Okay, interesting.
Rosters are a bit more stable.
Yeah,
they're going to figure that out next week, and they're going to use it as soon as they can.
Yeah.
So there's nothing like secret-wise. You might think that like maybe the way you think about the game or maybe the way you play the game is different, but that's not something that is too easy to pick up.
Okay, we're going to get to the draft very shortly. What are we expecting hero-wise? Are we going to have this Lina, Monkey King, and we're going to see the Visage? Are those questions that you all have in your minds right now?
No question. I'm certain that Lina is going to be most likely #1 priority hero.
Okay. And the Magnus? I mean, you've been quite vocal about the Magnus pick.
It's going to happen, or it's going to get banned, because it just facilitates so much for your melee core, whether it's a Jug, a Lifestealer, a Troll Warlord. Gives you so many farming options. It just makes the hero more impactful in team fights. It kind of covers a lot of different bases. I think the one here I'm a little unsure is OG going to stick to the Monkey King pick for Jarex? He looked a little bit iffy in the group stage on the games that he played, but maybe he played some more pubs, maybe feels more confident, or maybe they just feel it's worth taking from their opponents, because it seems like all the Chinese teams, they all have a really solid Monkey King player. Maybe they didn't farm enough, but I don't know. I think that's the one here we'll maybe see some discussion, some change in.
Okay. Cap, what are your thoughts on that?
I personally think that the Monkey King is like a strong enough hero right now that even if you, as an individual player, are slightly weak on it, I think it'll still be value enough that they'll just pick it up anyway. I think Magnus is probably going to be one of those 1-2 bans. I'm not sure if we're going to see it into the pool. I don't know. What do you think, Kevin?
You don't even think it'll make it in?
I'm kind of leaning against it. I think it just offers so many like drafting possibilities, right?
Yep.
Peter, like from your perspective, right, as a drafter, what is the things that Magnus gives you as sort of like a 1-2 pickup? I feel like there are very many different branches and cores that become more viable.
But then it almost kind of directs you towards like a melee core path, which isn't always exactly where you want to go, and not always the tell you want to give right away. That's why I almost feel like Magnus and Centaur are going to be lower in priority, and I think they'll definitely make it through the first 2 bans and picks.
Okay, well, we're going to see. In the meantime, we're just waiting for our start of the draft. So why don't we take a couple of social media questions? We've had quite a lot over the 5 days that we've been out here in Shanghai. So let's check in with another one right now. Capitalist, what makes No-Tail a good carry player?
I think he is when he first started on OG, I was pretty critical of him. I felt like his performances as a carry.
Is there any player you haven't been critical about?
Yeah, there are a few. Faith Beyond comes to mind.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was pretty critical of him, but I think he massively improved over his time. I hear that guy just like endlessly grinds, so I think he has a certain play style And he really recognizes that strength in himself, and I think he applies that well, but I think he just constantly improves. That guy just like grinds 24/7 and just works on just being the best player he possibly can be. And so I think when you've got someone that hardworking, who's always going to be looking out for you and, you know, grinds out those games, he has so much experience to fall back. Gone.
Okay. Let's take one more social media question. As I said, we're just hearing that the players are getting into the lobby now, so we shouldn't be too far away. What does Night Stalker need to retrieve his position as a solo mid? Peter!
Like, I don't know. Total rework. Dota 3?
Dota 3,
Yeah.
really? It's been that far away.
A new map?
Okay.
Something?
It's a couple problems. Dota player 111. Did you make a Smurf because you're embarrassed about that question?
He's fun to play. I like playing him mid.
Yeah, he's fun. It's really fun to get fast levels and roam, but then really fundamental issues with putting in a hero like Night Stalker mid that make him non-viable.
There's very few like top tier cores that don't have any kind of wave clear.
Yeah.
And that's what Night Stalkers always struggle with.
Battle Fury Rush? That'll solve it.
Something.
No boots, Battle Fury.
Are you trolling Peter now? Is this the game?
We're trying to help out Dota 2 player 111.
Yeah. Okay.
Give him some
what
hope.
would you recommend him?
I mean, if he's a Night Stalker player, right, it sounds like he's very fixated on that hero.
Transition to the 4 role.
Yes.
Yeah, make it a support.
Maybe someday it can be offlane
Yeah,
again,
you can play
but
offlane.
unlikely.
You can play offlane.
You play off? What, now?
Not now.
Okay.
I'm sure you could make it work.
I've tried it. I don't know. Feels kind of weird.
Okay. I'm hearing we do have one more. What teams are showing the most amount of styles and strategies? That's a good question. What do you think, Peter? Who's got the biggest style and the widest?
I mean, it's got to be OG, right? They got the
Yeah.
Arc Warden and the Visage. I don't know. I think the meta is like. I mean, that's why I'm excited to see the main stage, is because like maybe it'll be different than the group stage, because towards the end of the group stage we were seeing very similar strategies from a lot of teams. NP was doing some funky stuff, but I just attribute that to Eternal Envy and 1437 theory crafting a lot.
I think
which you didn't like, by the way, very much.
I mean, regardless, it's interesting. I mean, I'm down to be. I'm here for entertainment, you know.
You got different heroes for OG, but I do think Newbee have showed quite a versatility in styles.
Okay.
Maybe they weren't the most effective with them.
Yeah, I was
going to
say, when they showed them, though, they tended to lose.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's necessarily the best.
He didn't say good or bad,
no,
right?
No, that's true.
Like,
yeah, no, he's asking for widest styles.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Kevin?
Yeah, I think OG is the one that springs to mind. They played Nyx Assassin in the mid lane. They've been picking a lot of weird heroes.
Yeah.
I was thinking the team that has the least variety. I think the one I'm thinking is Faceless probably. I feel like their styles have been
Very
really
rigid.
straightforward. A lot of Terrorblade, cover black in that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Black played offlane in his last game though.
You got me.
Versatility in
Mixing it
positions
up.
now.
ISSI said, trying to win the game here. Black, you take that clockwork to the offlane, and then I'll handle the carry. But he ended up dying to the offlaner anyway, solo. So it was a disaster.
There is no quick fix. There is no quick fix.
No, there isn't. All right. Okay. Thank you to all three gentlemen. I'm hearing that there's a couple of things that we need to fix right now here in the arena. As you'd expect, it's day one. Little things, little bugs crop up from time to time. So we are going to head to a quick break. Hopefully it won't be too long, and we'll be able to get into our first draft of the day. Don't go too far away. Welcome back to Shanghai for the Dota 2 Asia Championships 2017. We are in the main arena for day one of the main event after 3 days of group action. Came to a close 3 days ago. We're trying to get into our first game of the day. A few gremlins in the system to get rid of, but hopefully we'll be shortly ready to go into the draft for the first one between OG and Newbee. Back on the panel as well, we have Purge, Capitalist and PVD. Welcome back to all three of you. What are you most looking forward to at the start of this match, Peter? What will tell you which team have come here to win this match?
I think I'm most looking forward to the clash of Group A and Group B finally,
right.
so you can see.
So we can actually determine which group was tougher.
It's tough.
I think it's already, we're already going to set that
yeah,
one.
we're pretty sure Group B is
I'm just
better.
trying to tell
OG,
Peter early on.
OG could be the best team.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to find out this week.
Is this the tougher semi-final, do you think, between the two? Are they more closely matched?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we were surprised by Empire during the group stage. We'll see if we were surprised, but I think IGV was like a standout in Group B. You know, they kind of rose above the top. They put up some 2-0s against some really good teams.
They went about it quite quietly, really, didn't they? Sort of flew under the radar a little bit. We were all
we
excited about OG doing really well day one, day two again, and IG just sort of went about their business and got on with it.
I think we as a Western audience pay less attention to the Chinese teams than we do the other guys. Like we're looking at, oh, NP might make it in the top 2, and oh my God, EG's not in the top 2. Like what a disaster! And we're like, oh, IGV and Newbee at the top. Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
Especially because a lot of those teams are a little bit new in terms of roster shuffle, whereas a lot of the Western teams I feel like have been pretty solidified in their rosters for a long time.
It does feel very stable.
It's that typical like TI reshuffle, and then they kind of stick to it for a long time, unless there's some major issues. But
so into the draft we go.
What is happening?
there it is.
Oh, look at that!
I refuse to.
Magnus and Centaur banned away.
We talked about it.
First pick,
and it's come true.
Well, if
Peter's.
All right, one really cool thing about Visage that OG did in one game, and I don't know if they did it on purpose, but there was this time where the enemy team was all smoked. They found Fly in the Visage as their smoke broke, and they actually couldn't kill him because he tanked so many nukes in the first couple hits, which was kind of interesting. Like as a hero, Visage does output a lot of damage as a support if he doesn't die right away. So depending on the lineups and his farm level, he can be really good. Plus, you get area of effect control. You have flying vision wherever you want it to. Those are a lot of things that OG has valued historically.
Okay, so we're not going to go down the Lina Monkey King route. It looks like it anyway. The Lifestealer Warlock route instead.
I think the problem with that is that Lina does have some issues with Visage because of that innate tankiness of the Gravekeeper's Cloak, is what it's called. So I think that those are kind of like the two openings for these Chinese teams. It's either going to be a Lifestealer +1, usually like Coddle, Warlock, or something like that, or it's going to be the Lina Monkey King.
I'm looking forward to being incredibly impressed by this Visage because
or you're going to be completely vindicated by this Visage. And OG are going to realize, wow, this is a garbage hero.
We'll see. I'm very surprised. I would have never guessed. There's no scenario that I would have ever guessed a first pick Visage.
Did you catch any of the other games where they played Visage?
I saw a couple games where they played Visage, and it was like, oh, OG's crushing and Fly is crazy farmed, and he's unkillable because he has 14K net worth as position 5.
So what's the problem? Just OG's better?
I just attributed it to them being really good. Like,
okay.
The problem was that OG never felt pressured. I think they're the laning phase. Like Visage is just able to like get his pulls and get his farm and whatever, and he was just like, okay, if you let a Visage get to like level 8 and completely uninhibited, then yeah, he's really going to start going off. But the oftentimes the problem with Visage is very early on in the laning phase, he looks rather lackluster. He doesn't also give you the same kind of like quick lane clear that some other supports do, and he doesn't provide like a saving.
I get the feeling though that Peter's just tainted by having to carry you noobs whilst playing Visage.
Don't look at me. I wasn't playing in there.
It was me. Yeah. Me, OD, Pixel, Shiver, and Scriff.
It was a lovely stack. I'm honestly surprised we didn't win just a 60-minute low priority game that you have to play over.
Yeah. So thank you, OD Pixel Smurf, for doing something.
I asked Owen, I was like, how did you get your Smurf into low priority? He said, oh, I had a particularly vocal day.
One vocal day.
Anyways, we got No-Tail Naga.
Yes.
I believe. So Naga is like a very good laner.
Why did they pick Naga over Terrorblade versus the Lifestealer?
It's kind of good as well. I mean, you've got Snare versus Rage. You can sleep through it.
Talked about Visage not really having great lane push. Naga is probably one of the best lane pushers in the game. So maybe there's maybe they're just trying to go late game.
Yeah, cover
and
that
then
weakness.
have like 4 to 5 cores.
It stacks well too. It's more minus armor for Visage. It's maybe not the biggest thing ever, but they do kind of fit together okay.
The Terrorblade's not super great against Warlock.
Yeah, that was what I was going to point to.
With Fatal Bonds.
Yeah, Fatal Bond's a huge problem. Also, Naga kind of helps you dodge team fights rather than kind of take them head on. Terrorblade wants to go walk down a lane and hit the towers with his meta on.
That's definitely what Newbee telegraphed pretty heavily with a Lifestealer Warlock opening. It's like, we're going to have strong laning phase, and we're going to have really good team fight. We're going to peak like 15, 25 minutes. We're going to be much stronger than you, most likely.
Tons of wrap potential from both Visage and Naga.
So I noticed when the camera was on Newbee's screen that after they first picked Visage, their player on the far end opened up the hero preview of Visage and was like going through his skills. Not sure why.
He's probably checking the talents.
Yeah, probably seeing like what are the buffs, what are the updates, like why are they picking Visage, what about it is OP. And
well, hopefully they've already had this discussion.
You would hope.
He's just getting some extra research in. You can respect that. He's probably not drafting.
So one of the things, like OG, I think at this point, right, they want to make sure that Newbee doesn't get their hands on a hero that actually takes advantage of the slower pace that they want to be able to take. So I think like some of the more harder carrying mids would be the best pickup for Newbee to try and counter the strat early, like Alchemist. I don't know how you feel about Invoker in this matchup.
I don't know. We'll see. They banned out both Alina and Ember Spirit, which I would kind of put as SCC heroes or heroes I would like to see him on this tournament. So I'll be interested to see what they pick up.
Well, isn't that in some ways like OG are covering like some of the heroes that would have scaled while they already have, while Newbee has the early game, and then conversely, Newbee is banning away some of the early game like tempo controlling mids while OG has the late game.
People do like Alchemist a lot versus Naga just because he scales up so much faster, and you can even
don't feel pressured, right?
You can also just go super late game against Naga with an Alchemist. You know, give Ags to all of your teammates. You know, start throwing moon shards around, and eventually Naga's gonna be 6 slotted, and you don't really have. She kind of peaks right there.
Yeah.
Back goes.
That's really hard to deal with as an offlane if you're playing Visage. Just kind of sucks. Lots of damage over time, cuts through your armor really quick, and you're kind of a crappy lane support. So I think the bat ban makes sense. Obviously helps him catch Naga Siren as well. She's trying to split push or TP out or something.
Yeah, the flame break can be nice if she sleeps. You can throw that pretty far away.
It doesn't stun, but
oh, you're right. Man, I suck.
That's okay.
Earth Spirit and Monkey King are still out there. Earth Spirit is a really good. Oh, never mind. Sorry. You got his first ban. Most likely like 4 positions that would be potential vehicles for Lifestealer. Because if you can have a support that operates as a vehicle, you could possibly have your offlane scale.
Still have Monkey King and Earth Spirit.
I just said that, but Earth Spirit is banned.
Oh, Earth Spirit was banned first too.
Yeah. I feel like this is deja vu, Peter.
It's early, and everyone's jet lagged. It's all good.
I feel okay because at least my mindset is in the same speed.
He was thinking about his Reddit thread about Flame Break not stunning anymore. That's why he wasn't listening to you.
I couldn't care less. Storm Spirit. Hype.
Oh.
Okay.
We like a bit of Storm Spirit.
The hero of DAC #1.
That's true. I'm interested to see what they follow it up with.
How is OG going to cover their early game though with the like a 4 position and a 3 position? They have to somehow, like, because you can't just purely play a dodge game, right? Like you do have to fight sometimes. You do have to get some sort of tempo in.
Or you have to be able to put enough pressure on the other lanes.
So yeah, you just like trying
so
to
that
get
they can't go high ground.
Yeah.
Okay, so Shadowfiend locked in from Newbee.
Pretty good matchup against Storm Spirit. Relatively well against Naga in like the mid game, I would say. And he's not bad at hitting buildings. Both Lifestealer and Shadowfiend can hit buildings, and they can potentially end the game early.
I like this pickup a lot from OG. I think it's your big team fight threat. Like you have to make sure that you have good high ground potential, so that Newbee doesn't go like just go high ground by 25, 30 minutes.
This is the ultimate fire versus ice lineup so far, isn't it? The 4 on one side and the 4 on the other.
Yeah, it looks like that. And
I always trusted you, Paul, to get in really good color analysis.
Always bringing it in.
They've also got the Naga Sleep with Enigma Black Hole that used it quite well last time they drafted this. The one problem with their lineup right now that I'm looking at is they have really bad counter push, though, other than the Naga Siren. So pre-Radiance, if Newbee groups decently and pushes towers, it could be a bit tough for OG to defend.
Yeah, they could gain a lot of momentum. I'd say, look, the team fight is great and all, but they do have Warlock to kind of drop rock on the Black Hole if they do set it up like that. So it's going to be really important for OG to find Warlock during that sleep and make sure they disable him, whether it's like with Storm Spirit or something. So maybe some sort of vision hero for 4th pick for OG.
Monkey King.
Bounty Hunter.
Last time that S4 played Enigma 2, he basically AFK farmed for a good 15-20 minutes. He went Midas first with Arcane Boots and came out a couple times for Black Holes, but spent a lot of time in the jungle. So if Newbee watched that game, and I'm sure they did, they should know that there's pressure opportunities there. Unless OG changes it up with builds, but maybe something like a mech could change early fights.
It's interesting they banned away the Kunkka on the side of Newbee last.
Paul, you want to take this one to Blue Hero, or?
Yeah, we thinking blue here, or maybe.
You've done this before, Peter. I don't know if it was intentional, but
I'm
EG
sure
have done it a few. He did. He got to like the fifth minute. Guys, we could have a whole blue team
here. We picked a lot
here.
of like purple-ish heroes. That was back in the Void meta.
Yeah.
Bane
Yep.
Void.
Void Bane, classic draft right there. Miss my buddy Atropos.
It's a fun hero.
So, Riki Bounty Hunter.
I mean,
sort of
that
vision
was an
hero,
idea, yeah.
CM.
I wouldn't mind those. That would be interesting. It's a Jerax hero, so I think something.
Ooh,
okay.
More high
Interesting.
I like that because it's counter push mostly. There's also a good mix of magic damage and physical. The downside is obviously you've got Naga with a Radiance with Elder Titan. Not a good synergy there because you're going to wake people up. But I think it's a good way to slow down the pushes. It'll counteract a lot of the base armor that's going on. I think it's good. You can scout for Sand King as well. Just the vision game that you guys were talking about. The only downside is your minus armor aura is based on your hero now, not your spirits, so comboing with some of the other heroes can be a bit iffy, but
we'll see. I don't love it. They have a ton of team fight.
Yeah.
And maybe if they can kill people instantly, then
A lion.
it'll work.
Wow.
the
Okay.
Lina.
Haven't seen a huge amount of lions so far, that's for
Oh,
sure.
Lion. I was talking about him
Yeah.
in the group stage. Underrated.
It's good against
Minus
Naga.
30 resecond spawn.
Okay,
You can
yeah,
feed
yeah. Lion and
endlessly
Lina.
at
Yeah.
level 10.
It's really good against Storm too. Good against Naga Illusions. Pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. It's
All
good
right.
again.
Cool. Good stuff. Thank you to all three of our panelists. We will be, of course, back after our first matchup, which means we head downstairs to the commentators. And who better to have a black hole first game than Toby one?
Gotta tell you, Paul, I am excited. It's great to have an Enigma on the field. It's great to have the draft start off with something unusual.
My hero's on the field.
Your hero's on the field? Who's
Naga
your
Siren.
Naga. Yep. Okay, you asked for the Naga Siren, and then you instantly regretted the Naga Siren actually being picked.
I'm just a Naga player.
Okay.
I like it a lot.
Really?
Sometimes. Sometimes.
You like the slow, drawn out.
It's fun to
style
play.
games.
It's 50-50 to watch.
You know, it actually makes me think of the old style combinations of like, how do we have the ultimate D push? You got the ET Spirit plus the Naga Radiance. Like, this is something which happened a lot in Southeast Asia for a while. You send your illusions down the mid, you send the ET Spirit down the mid, and you can actually hold the creep wave at the tier 1 tower of the opposite side of the river. It's ridiculously good split push.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And on the other side, we have pretty big team fight too. Warlock is sometimes seen as a good counter to Enigma Black Hole, but how's our game looking?
I would love to see, but we're not there just yet. So we'll wait to see just how long it takes to get into the game. What else do you think about like the drafting phase? Like, we saw the Magnus being banned out. We didn't go for the normal kind of route. Where does the Visage fit into everything?
It's OG specialty. What more is there to say? They love that hero. It opens up a lot of pushers with them too. You mentioned like the Drow Ranger that they occasionally do with it, but I think it's we usually don't see Fly get too big except for that hero.
Yep.
Which is
Yep.
good.
And then
base.
I'm actually wondering too, like how Newbee are meant to try and deal with this, because you got to understand this attack from OG, it's going to come from all sides. So how do you approach it then as Newbee? Do you just focus on your lanes? Do you focus on your rotations? Is that what you do?
Depends on what they think is going to happen in the off lane. So we usually see Enigma actually in dual off lanes. He's like half jungling, half denying the range creep, and then a support just leeching in that lane. But if they just have the Enigma down there, they can approach it a little bit differently and just try and kill him. But if there's a support there, maybe they can focus on the other lanes and go on the Storm. So it just depends. It's really easy with heroes like Monkey King. You can just sit in the trees and absorb while Enigma goes to jungle those two camps. And looking at the beginning of the game, Radiant have not been able to invade the Enigma's two spawns.
Yeah, it's just the basic standard stuff. Even with Enigma, like when you're running on that dire side, isn't it easy
This
enough
is not
just to
standard,
farm
Toby.
next to the secret?
This is not. This is
You
not.
don't like that Radiant Observer Ward as a standard ward?
No,
if you can't get in?
usually you try and focus on the Enigma because he's the one that's going to be jungling the most. Usually Storm Spirit jungles like maybe like 5 to like 8, but Enigma juggles very early on.
But we're also looking at like the off lane Enigma. So like, what are you going to do to really stop that?
Well,
he's just going to sit on the
bot
bot
lane. He's not
lane.
that strong at level 1. He has no escape. All he has is being able to deny the range creep. So without that...
So do you then just like run Jirax more as this like babysitter? Like if things get rough, I suppose he needs to also be level 2 before he can really do much.
Yeah, he has the boots.
So
he wants to make stuff happen.
utilize the camps next to secret shop. Find your farm there.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. But that's why the Radiants usually counter it with obs or sentries. They block both the camps usually. You can get a 30-second spawn, the 1-minute spawn, and a 3-minute spawn. So by the time Enigma's like jungling phase is generally over, the camps respawn again, and then he's a little bit under-leveled. He's their main team fighter. They need him to get pretty big, get mech and whatnot, and try and fight because as general with Lifestealer lineups, things are going to be pretty swift from Newbee's side.
But with all those resources committed to the Enigma, like you look at what Newbee's focusing on now, the 4-man spoke maneuver up to the Dire safe lane. That's going to be No-Tail's area. Do you shut him down instead? Like you accept the fact that Enigma's going to find the farm, but then your trade-off is going to be like your timing, where you get like your Blink Dagger on your SK, or like your SF and your Lifestealer start hitting harder. Are you then able to deal with the Naga? Actually, can you even do that? Because if the ET gets levels, he's going to counter push you.
Yeah, I think that's why they're changing their game plan to actually invade their safe lane instead. If Fly doesn't get big, it's actually a big issue too. If he doesn't get like his normal items, they won't be able to like if they get like a Roche on Storm Spirit and all these other items, then it's going to be way more difficult. They can only put out so many fires at once.
Very smart from OG. They've backed up. Maybe not understanding if Newbee were going to attack or not. There's no vision really on the bottom lane that tells them anything about this. It's just more of a safety thing. And with these pauses happening as well, you definitely don't want to be in a position where you, because we've got a little bit of a sound issue by the sounds of it. Pun was not intended. Just get back into a safer zone. Don't risk anything for now.
I was thinking about Enigma. Are you a plus 90 or whatever GPM talent or cooldown reduction? So like 120 versus 15%? I was about to say 12. I think it's 15%.
I am always going to go for cooldown reduction on the Enigma.
Always.
Always.
We need like a personality test for Dota. It's like, would you take 120 GPM or would you take 15% cooldown reduction on Enigma?
Wow, and then it like pumps it out. It's like, well, you were close enough to this pro player who would normally do this. It's like,
That'd be a cool personality test. It's like, would you call Bane Elemental Bane or Atropos?
You just...
PBD calls it Atropos. Atropos.
Would it be Abaddon or LOA?
No one calls it LOA anymore.
No, but I always think of it as LOA. That just shows like how old school you can be.
Are you an S&Y kind of lifestealer, or are you an Armlet Dezo kind of lifestealer? That'd be interesting. I always like the different personalities of players and what they build. There's some that are like super rigid with their builds too. Like no matter what they'll go, but people like, I was just looking at Fly, he's pretty flexible on his Visage builds.
That's right, you just put your Broodmother build in. It's like, who are you? Well, I'm Baby Knight. I rush Radiance first item. That's what I do.
Are you that kind of guy?
Yeah, if you are that kind of guy, you are a wonderful person.
What would be the 8 personalities with Dota if there were a personality test for Dota?
Could you limit them to just 8?
Well, that's how the standard personality test is. Do you think you can limit all of humankind to just 8? Apparently.
You could probably pump in your information and see who you're close enough to. Like, that's something I reckon Nahas could probably cook up in, like, the kitchen or something.
Well, we have a project for you, Sir Nahas.
Yeah. We want to have a personality test. Which pro player are you more like because of your decisions in Dota 2?
Which courier are you? Are you a
Ramnot
faceless Rex sort of guy, or are you a Ramnot with
I'm a fluffy devourer of weeds.
Do you have the cool flames?
Flames?
Wasn't there one courier with like the flames, the war dog?
Oh, you're talking about the very, very rare courier that actually came out.
Please, what else would I be talking about, Toby?
Yeah, it had a very special custom effect, which no longer works in Dota 2, because it got destroyed, I believe, when the Source engine got upgraded. So it disappeared. But yeah, there was a very rare courier from the defense. There was only like maybe 4 or 5 released at the time. So it was, yeah.
I think that's, you remember we were talking about the gems of Terrorblade and his Arcana? I think that gem for the War Dog is one of the most expensive gems.
Really?
Yep, because it's super rare. And it was really cool. Technical issues.
Yes. Yes. Hopefully, it looks like it was Jirax who was the one having the issues, and the admins have now moved away from Jirax's PC. I saw him tweaking his audio at the very, very start. I also saw a large amount of laughter coming from that booth. When they first picked up the Visage, the entire like OG lineup was just like having a giggle. So either someone cracked an amazing joke at the time, or they were just like, yep, we know the reaction everyone's going to have to this.
Can you think of any Visage jokes on the fly?
Any Visage jokes? No. I have trouble winging it.
We're done here. We're done here, Toby.
You asked for it. All right, so now it's OG who gets to be aggressive. They 3-man smoke in. They put the Observer Ward down, and they're looking around the back. SC, where do you find your opening? It's actually even Warlock as well running up next to the pit, so Notel says hello. And it's the Warlock who has to run away from Elder Titan.
They've done that gank one too many times. I think I've seen them do that a few times, where they wrap around to the Radiant Ancients, and then they try and gank the hero trying to go on the Bounty Rune. I think generally it's like super weak heroes like Invoker and SF that they prefer to do that towards.
It's going to be hilarious to listen. I don't know if you guys can hear the crowd in the background, but every single time SC is looking to get a CS in the mid, everyone's going nuts for them the second it happens. So this crowd's going to be rather biased. Obviously, we will not.
They probably have like a special soul counter for Shadow Fiend.
Just have it up on the screen.
SCCC Soul.
This is the balance. Wait, hang on. He doesn't have the winning balance right now. Troublesome. Well, we have fun battle in the mid anyway.
Level 1 stun, too, on KP. Usually see Caustic a lot more if you're trying to pressure melee safe laners. I'm a little surprised that he did go with that. I guess sometimes if you're scared about dying, you go for the level 1 Burrow Strike. But
would you be worried about pushing the lane as well if you got the Caustic?
Pushing the lane's okay. There's not really... they can actually utilize the neutral camps that they do push the lane. So pushing a lane, sometimes a good thing.
Well, S4. He's not getting all the CS he's probably looking for on that bottom lane, but he's keeping the creep wave back, which is nice. Faith having some troubles getting hit by the phone book of Jirax. Notel able to get the ensnare off. Faith, real trouble and Fly. The man who had to get big for OG will spill the first blood just shy of the 2-minute mark.
There's just no pressure coming out from the lane. You have level 1 heal on a Warlock and level 1 Burrow Strike. There's just not enough damage. And Faith, I'm not exactly sure what he was trying to do, going all the way up there. Maybe just trying to interrupt the pool or scout out the pool or something like that.
And now he's trying to steal runes, but you got Fly rotating down as well. So you'll have the heal that will give some Faith a little bit more life. The slow from the Grave Chill. Fly still trying to keep him down, but he's not level 2 yet. So without the Soul Assumption, they don't have the burst damage that OG would really like. You can Burrow Strike back, but Faith's already expended the Shadow Word to heal himself up. So it's more trade-off for trade-off, but it's creating more and more space now for Naga Siren.
She's happy. You don't really want to see any heroes in your lane as Naga. You just want to be you versus the creep world. That's the dream.
All right, so U9 is having the time of his life. Completely, I'd say uncontested lane. The Enigma still been taking one creep off the lane and then using it to farm up the side camps. But Enigma is no longer showing himself on the bot lane. Is that when the line should be up there as well, like getting up in his face? You mentioned like the lack of warding to actually counter the Enigma's camps. What can Kaka do to actually stop just this uncontested farm of S4?
You counter greed with greed, similar to how we saw like the Alchemist versus a lot of anti-mages. I somewhat view that the same way as playing against Enigma. Enigma will farm a little bit faster than you, but if it's off lane, he has to have a lot of downtime because he has to move in between the lane and the neutrals a lot. But I think he can just pull, get 6, kill some people, make the Storm's life miserable. That's why they picked the last pick Lion. A little bit light on the disable was just the Sand King before.
Well, that's not a good thing to have happen. But so far at the start, mid lane looks pretty even. I think the only thing which you might probably poke as a problem here for OG is just the farm coming into Notel. But this is a Naga Siren. We've seen OG do it in the past, even when they were trying to pump extra levels into Jirax, when they ran the Pudge combination with the Naga Siren, where you'd actually end up having Naga going jungle, like pulling for the first couple of levels, and then would easily be able to catch up. So probably wouldn't flag actually that CS of Notel being low as a bad thing for them.
I wonder how early they want the lifestealer to go into the jungle. At some point, you do need to contest OG's jungle. That has to happen, I think, as sometime in between like the 7 to the 12-minute mark. And I guess he can probably do it when he gets phase armlet. But
is it worth sending him in earlier so your Lion is able to hit up his level 6 faster? So then you can get like gank rotations with a Finger of Death.
Sometimes it's pretty hard with a lifestealer, but I doubt OG are going to make like super aggressive moves. I don't think they're going to be like diving the T1 on top, or maybe, I mean, they could potentially like smoke rep around mid and kill the SF, but I think they're more concerned about getting their items up and running, getting their level 6s.
This OG lineup, and I'm wondering actually like average game time style of approach for OG. Because I remember when OG was first formed, most of their games, they would try and win around the 30 to 35 minute mark. They would itemize for it, they would draft for it, and it was just so damn strong. This kind of gives me a flashback to that kind of draft. Like, we don't really feel pressured. We're going to be able to find our farm, and then we're going to hit this really sweet timing when Newbee won't be able to contest the OG lineup. And even if you do, you just turn on Song of the Siren.
Lifesteal is actually pretty decent at dealing with Song, though. If you get like let's say infested Sand King goes onto the Naga, if they can actually find the real Naga, she will die very quickly. Like you can't really create enough space to like ensnare and run away.
I suppose that's actually like true. Like there's no instant disable when you do go for that kind of jump in. Like ET takes time for his stomp, even though he can do it from range. And Storm's Vortex still requires him to be in position for it. Familiars take a second to drop. It's like the initial stun of Malefice, but even then you got the cast time on it.
Sand King's, I think, the most crucial hero on Newbee's side by a long shot. He has a lot of stuff to do in this game. He's like the main initiator on their side. He has to kind of set up for the Warlock hole. He's going to be the main infest target. He needs to get his blink at a pretty decent timing, like well before the Radiance on the Naga. He just has a very tough game ahead of him, KP.
That's a lot of pressure to put on him, but he always seems to have that pressure. No matter how the Newbee lineups work, you always seem to have KP in a position where he needs to find farm, even if it's not always on the safe lane. This is like style shot now.
That's creepy. That's like the only thing moving in any of these shots is
his jaw.
Yeah.
He's even got a little twitch for it. All right, well, monitors are back on, and so is the game. And we'll just see how much farm KP can get off this top lane. Already had a couple of problems with the ganking, but that Observer Ward is serving them well, so they know that Georax is rotating over. Not an instant reaction for it. Looks like KP's not too concerned either. Now that Caustic is up, No-Tail's going to be a little bit more cautious about coming closer.
It's a very early raindrops from the Naga. Usually you'll see the Aquila, especially in a tri lane. You get 3 times the value from the mana regeneration. But he is going to have some mana issues, it looks like.
Oh, they're spiriting forward. KP wasn't up far enough to really try and capitalize on it. Meanwhile, Anna's already abandoned middle lane for a quick little bit of a flash farm for him. Up against that SF, I suppose you've got to be cautious about it. Getting SF up into levels, his souls are starting to build up. That's a lot of damage that can come the way of a Storm Spirit who doesn't have an escape mechanism yet. Well, now in snare, top lane, the Burrow Strike catching out too. Thunderbond's also connecting him up, so OG will not want to commit too heavily to this. So KP creates the space, even though OG are the ones to initiate.
That was a really great stun by KP. He has to stop the ET from getting off the stomp. So all in all, things going pretty okay, I would say. Just run-of-the-mill, straight kind of average start for OG.
Yep. But that's what we're expecting, right? Like, that's what both teams have drafted for.
It could have been a lot worse. I think the Storm could have been taken advantage of a little bit more. Perhaps whatever they want to do with the Lion. But
Kaka going to take a fair amount of damage. Is there a TP rotation to come in? The ping's already coming out for it.
Such a
and with the
dangerous
Observer
spot.
Ward, they know about it, and Kaka, he's just going to salve up and run away.
It's not an easy place to invade. Like, look at his position. He could have easily been wrapped around. Southwest there's a shrine. Northeast there's a T2, and southeast there's a T1. So there's 3 places they could potentially TP to.
I suppose it would be a victory though, right? Like if he's able to get away and force a rotation out, you can create that 1v1 scenario, because it would have had to be Fly who TP'd in.
Yeah, their catch is not particularly good.
Looks like S4's now working out why he was so confident to go up aggressive. Takes out that Observe Ward in the bottom lane.
Early raindrops for Enigma too. That makes 2 raindrops.
Maybe they're just What are they actually worried about? It's going to be Lion, right? Like,
It's nice mana if you don't want to get Arcane and Soul Ring. Arcane Soul Ring, I think, is overkill on mana. But it's a nice in-between because they're worried about the early pressure, I think, massing up on the raindrops. It's actually pretty unusual for this type of game.
Anna, he's moved over. They can start attacking into KP if they got detection. Yes, they do. The Sentry Ward is down. No-Tel trying to keep Faith a little bit further out. Same with G-Rex. Anna jumps forward low on mana, but with the Stomp is enough damage to kill off KP. Faith retreating back to his own T1 tower, but the Soul Assumption flies in. One more Book Slap is still not enough, but the attack from Anna will be there. He'll pick up a double kill on his rotation out from mid lane / jungle. And that's now 3-0 in favor of OG.
So much for stopping the Naga Siren.
They tried.
They tried, but OG had the game plan of, okay, we're going to secure our Naga Siren Sword. They weren't really contesting Enigma at all. It's just a Lion. They're not really scared of a Lion, and Lifestealer wasn't really able to go into the area because he's just farming the lane. Lifestealer is, I would say, second most important hero because there's a lot on him too because he's their main damage dealer in the early game. Yeah, maybe like Lion gets 6 and does a finger here or there, but Shadow Fiend's going to be farming up. You usually don't see them get too involved until after their first item.
So you delay the transport for the Lifestealer, so the SK Blink Dagger. So maybe time for KP to actually rotate to the bottom lane. Wow. That's Force playing for the long haul, man.
That's not surprising. The Midas on the Lifestealer is way more surprising.
Wait, is he?
Yeah, that's what the quick buy says.
Okay.
He did have a gloves, but you can build gloves into armlet. I think phase armlet is more likely to play for him.
Oh, Storm Spirit's going to get caught out inside the jungle. SC moving beautifully with Lion to catch him out there.
So this jungle evade is happening very, very early on. 8 minutes in, they have the Observer Ward placed down already. They made a smoke rotation, I believe, with the...
They're going to invade heavily. No-Tel has leveled up Song of the Siren, and he just lets it go. TP's coming in. Enigma has Black Hole. He can set up for 3 of them right now. SK will be in the neighborhood. That's why S4's getting as much distance as he can to the right, and he holds them in with the Black Hole. The 4 of them all caught in with the Storm and the Spirit Animal will come in, and it is an absolute disaster for Newbee. They're pushed out the top lane. They look tired, and then they look vortexed.
Oh, that was devastating. Their main way to stop Black Hole is is Warlock Rock. And Rock, he was not even in a good position to drop a Rock, even if he had it, because he got slept and holds.
Yep.
And that's just asking for it right there.
I just love this from S4. So he understands there's no Rock, so what do? You get as far away from the SK. And KP tried. He tried to get in there, but the Burrow Strike range just is not enough.
Even if he had gotten a Burrow Strike off, the damage would have already been done. But J-Rex also hit him with a Stomp before, so he couldn't go in. I would have loved to see Newbee's player cams as soon as they're sled. That's one you know you're going to get boned in about 5 seconds.
KP's in trouble. The Spirit's coming in for the Stomp. He'll try and hide inside the Sandstorm, but it's not possible. KP will be picked off. That Blink Dagger becomes almost a dream now for him. And OG, the perfect way to approach the game and coming into 10 minutes. Huge fight, lot of space.
Yeah, they got baited in by the Naga. They were trying to go for the Hex on the Naga in that fight. I'm trying to think of like what could have went better for them in that fight. Like even if they had spaced out a little bit more, like let's say only 2 people got caught in the Black Hole, they still would have gotten obliterated there. So it was just, they feel the pressure mounting. Enigma playing greedily, Naga getting a lot of kills, and her safe lane has been relatively uncontested. Yeah, there's heroes up there, but they're not stopping the pulls. They're just feeding away tons and tons of kills.
So you see Newbee go for a different kind of objective. It's the bottom tier 1 tower. They bring in SCC. They have U9 there as well, and nothing's really going to stop this. While Song of the Siren is down, Newbee know they've got the power to push forward without being straight up contested. No Song, no Black Hole.
I will say that I'm not a fan of the Lifestealer going Midas though. It's because like he needs to be able to do a lot more damage. Trying contesting Naga's farm with a different hero's farm I think is fine, like anti-mage, but trying to contest it as a Lifestealer is generally a losing battle because no matter what items you're going to get, Naga has her skill set just way inherently better at dealing with the Lifestealer than Lifestealers at dealing with a Naga in the later game.
They're coming for a kill over on Anna. Anna is probably the lowest of all the cores, even though I say that while he's 600 net worth in front of the Naga Siren. Just the fact the Storm Spirit still has to soak up so much space inside the jungle to keep that net worth up. And it's a 3-man smoke to the top lane. No tells there. Song of the Sirens back off cooldown. And the Sentry Ward is on top of the Observe Ward. As the Creep Wave comes in, it'll actually kill it off. The Razors, okay, Naga Illusions are trying to get rid of it, and they know. Obviously, when SC cuts the wave with Razors, it's also a big indication.
Yeah, there were two places they could make the smoke gank. It was one towards the Ancients and one towards the top side. And Ana was already sitting on top of the shrine on the high ground vision. So if they wanted to gank him, they'd have to go to the shrine and place a ward. And even then, it's still risky because he can just zip out. So
KP's out of here. He's heading down to the bottom lane because S4 is still adding pressure to it. And while both the Naga Song as well as the Black Hole is up, you have to be cautious. Yeah, you got Rock up available now too.
The blink is mandatory on KP as soon as possible. They know they can't jump the Naga. They have no way to get on top of her.
net worth. He's still another 1,000 away from it.
What else? What other options do you have?
I'd say force the towers at least.
You can't.
Like,
you'll get slept in a hole.
Yeah, true.
Even just a sleep into Earth Splitter is pretty bad too. So yeah, Warlock can sit out of it, but if you get stomped to an Earth Splitter, you're also going to lose the fight. And Warlock ult isn't really going to save you from that because all that stuff will be precast.
That's some heavy rotation stop. Thanks to Dire Observe Ward this down. They see a lot of this, and Kaka gets shredded apart. Oh, that line doesn't stand a chance. Not with Familiars up in the air. Spirit on top of him. They chain the stuns onto U9, just forcing him back out of the lane. Create a little bit more space and then the wrap around into mid. SC's pushing towards the tower, but it's from behind. Ana with the haste rune, trying to body block and slow up SC. You got another Stomp coming in. There's the damage and actually keeps the lifesteal in position from the Song of the Siren of No Tell. They're grouping up around him. Enigma's coming in. They'll slap down the splitter. U9 drag back into it. That TP taking a little bit too long. They do have the rock from Faithfly. I think he knows he's dead, and Kaka will ensure it with the Finger of Death. Following Sun into Ana, and this is a time when Newbee can get absolutely nothing. Ana has his ultimate. He'll jump away to the safe side of the river. So a 1-for-1 trade-off for support for the SF. But right now, I think Newbee are having to take anything they can get.
The Naga Sleep was a gamble. He expected more heroes to be right next to the Lifestealer, and then they would have been able to get the hole. But as they tried to scout the vicinity for the Warlock's positioning, they realized that it was too good of a position. He was on the high ground to the left side where the Ancients were, and there's no way they can really stop him. Storm didn't have enough mana to really go and control him in the fight, and they weren't able to set up with a Black Hole. It's kind of a game of chicken between the Warlock and the Enigma, unless you can get the Warlock in the hole.
You wait until Enigma is able to pick himself up a BKB, and maybe another reason for that Midas. And yeah, as you see it in the quick buy there for S4, it's exactly what he's going for. He's the top net worth on the side of OG at the moment. In saying that, all that money we were looking for to see KP pick up, with that kill that happens in mid, yes, a 1-for-1 trade-off, but you know Song is down, and Newbee, they then capitalized on the moment. They take the tier 1 tower on mid, and now they switch themselves up towards the top lane. KP will have to hold out the bottom. It looks like Lion's actually in a position where, with a double damage ring, doesn't have Finger of Death, however. So actually having enough damage to kill off Ana is unlikely. But they're going to bring down the tower, and this will give just enough money for the SK to get the Blink Dagger. So that critical timing will arrive at around the 15-minute mark.
Oh, they're trying to make a play without Song.
That's optimistic, to say the least. If Jirax can get the Spirit down and then get the Stomp, Optimus may be counting their lucky stars. They'll get the 2-man stun. U9 able to just get himself a little bit further away. Another ET Splitter snaps the mid to the Black Hole. The perfect synergistic timing. Faith will go down as well. A double kill for S4.
You see Warlock's conundrum? He can't ever just stay out of it. He's like wants to be with his team, and if you leave your teammates isolated, you're just going to be way too far back and you'll get separated, and you'll just get slept while they black hole. So, like either way, it's really difficult. Jirax not going to die.
And it's that Jirax Stomp as well. It's OG reading the play perfectly. Yeah, you don't have Song of the Siren to put him to sleep, but instead you got another way. Like we're literally looking at Overwatch right now. We've got 4 Anas on the field as they just put him to sleep. The snap timing in the Black Hole, it just looks so beautiful. For all those people that love creating highlight videos and just slowing down the moment at like full 4K resolution, that's one of them right there.
So all this has been before Rock has been dropped and before the Sand King gets Blink. Now that Sand King has Blink, the ball can start rolling for Newbee. This is they have to make things happen in the next 5 minutes, or else Naga's going to have Radiance, and Bloodstone's going to be out on the Storm, and BKB is going to be up on Enigma. So if they don't make anything happen in the next 5 minutes, it's going to be a long hill to climb back up.
And that's where we have to start looking at the warning. We already saw a quick look at the Observer Ward up next to the Dire Secret Shop. So this is the vision that Newbee have to play with at the moment. The Naga illusions are coming in. They got slightly body blocked up by KP. And then the circle is actually drawn by Visage saying they're around here. So I don't know if...
This is a big kill. He has 3450 gold.
Oh, if they can kill him. I hear the epicenter going off. KP will jump in with the lifesteal, and they have enough damage. He buys the recipe. So No Child tries to at least be a little bit more saving on his money.
How much unreliable gold did he have? I don't think he actually...
He didn't lose that much.
Yeah, I don't think he lost... yeah, he lost a lot. Generally, Nagas have a ton of... that's the way I was like, do you really want to buy your Radiance recipe? Because you farm a lot faster with the...
Okay, they're gonna start line impaling familiars to get them down. I'm fine with that. They're good money. ET trying to create space with a stomp, but it's not going to happen. So both familiars lost, and it looks like they don't have a respawn yet. But Ana taking out that bottom tower, rapidly approaching his Bloodstone timing.
Sand King can't show as often as he is. He's the only one that can really make space. Maybe once Lion gets Blink Dagger, they have to worry about 2 heroes, but right now it's just the Sand King. Sand King on that, everyone can feel at ease for OG.
You can see Newbee hoping these ganks actually work. Faith is going into his Hand of Midas on the Warlock.
I think they just have to fall back on their contingency plan, which is try and go for late game. Which
how do you do late game against a Naga and an ET? That D push is unbelievable, and the split push with familiars is also painful.
You just rely on the Warlock being able to cancel the black hole, or people not being able to get caught up by sleep, or being able to BKB rush down the Naga. There's a lot of things they can do.
They're going to need better positioning if they're going to rely on the Warlock for anything. Because like you were mentioning it, like the Blink Dagger's not there, the Rock hasn't been dropped yet, but at the same time, there's been like 2 fights which have happened where Warlock has had the Chaotic offering and hasn't been able to get it off.
The vision game is just much better though from OG. They have the Familiars to scout, they have Storm Spirit, who can also just run around in the backline, and Naga Illusions, and the Spirit actually. So 4 of their heroes can provide vision for the Naga Siren to get a good sleep, or for Enigma to get a hole off. And like later on too, they can even, like once Ana gets Orchid, it's going to be even more miserable for Warlock. They can just sleep whoever they see, and then Warlock can just get jumped by the Storm, and they have no counterplay to Black Hole. Yeah. And it's a BKB Black Hole, so absolutely no counterplay.
So maybe it just gets to the point where you say, you know what, SC, can you survive? This is one thing which the OG lineup does like a fair amount of, is the ability to rip through like a satanic target, unless you can keep the damage up.
Surviving.
Yeah, so
surviving Black Hole.
You survived the original burst damage. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It's probably going to be an Aghanim's Black Hole by the time this game is over.
He's going to try BKB, but that's why they have the Visage. Yep. Visage has...
he's going Octarine after. Okay. It's BKB into Octarine for the Enigma.
Octarine's great. I really like Octarine plus cooldown rock. Even with GPM and Midas, it's also really good. Your downtime is really low because you need to be able to sync with the Naga sleep, and she'll have what, like 45-second cooldown with the Octarine. So generally, your limiting reagent is going to be the Enigma.
All right. So currently, is still a 3 towers to 1 in favor of Newbee.
Ooh, Yules. What's another way to deal with the BKB or the Black Hole, but and the net. The net's been owning KP really badly.
It also allows him to do what KP kind of sometimes finds himself doing with these offlaners. He ends up being the perfect split pusher with Yule Scepter and Sandstorm, potentially able to get out of the net of aggression that comes from OG, while still adding that split push, while still getting OG to worry about what's behind them, create space for their wonderful mid player, like to get SC. That big opening, that big play, where OG are a 1-man, 2-man down just because they had to go and deal with the split push.
Split pushing is really hard though. Naga's really way better at shoving in lanes.
That's why you got a Lion. Mana leak it out and Hex up.
He does
get rid of the illusions really quickly.
He has Blink now, so that's really good for them. Now they have two avenues of approach. I think they can kill anyone with a Blink Hex on the Lion as well. With Infest Bomb.
Oh, Storm. Oh, yeah. Ana just saying hello in the middle lane more than
Surely
anything else.
they've called out the BKB on SCCC, so now they have to be a little bit more careful about that, how they approach.
Yep.
I think they can just play the farm game now because they have the BKB on the SF. He's not going to be able to farm up that quickly, and that's kind of what you want to be doing as a Naga lineup anyways. It was just
farming. And then make sure you don't have a really, really bad team fight up against the Warlock.
Her net worth is quite low, though.
Yeah.
She's number 6.
Yeah. But I think it's also because Anna took so much of the jungle.
Yeah.
And then Enigma kind of also does a very similar thing. Like, Enigma is sitting at #1 net worth for the Dire side. Like, if it wasn't for his high net worth, it would be light years that Newbee would have over the net worth of OG.
What talent did Enigma take? Let's check it out. 15% cooldown reduction.
Yeah. He don't need no gold when he's got Hand of Midas. Okay. So the attempt, the Dire, they're scanning up at the moment, but they're scanning their own high ground. Familiars get picked up, and now you actually start wondering about Roshan. The ET Spirit's in there. Look for the stop timing. They jump in. SC, he got the Aegis Immortal. Anna wants out of this one. There's nothing really to gain for OG getting caught inside this fight. So they're going to bail out as quickly as they possibly can.
That was a really good double raise by SCCC, though. That, I think, actually won them the fight, being able to kill those Viscous Familiars before they could get in. They had no idea how low Roche was. They had to bring over JRX, send in the Spirit, and by that time it was at like 5%, which just makes it really easy for them to preemptively pop BKB so they can't sleep seal it. And that was a very, very nice maneuver by Newbee. Now they buy themselves more time. Now SCCC, he's kind of free to do a lot more damage in the team fights, and now they actually have to worry about controlling the Shadow Fiend. He even if he dies learning the Enigma ulti, it's not going to be that big of a deal.
Here comes Anna. The Burrow Shrine tries to create space. No BKB up for SC. He used it to secure Roshan. The ET Splitter also makes its crack as you fall and die. SC will come back to life again. A quick Song of the Siren. They group up around him, just add a remnant and the stomp and the kill. That was meant to be the fight where the Aegis gave you the advantage. Without the BKB, nothing could protect the SF for the jump in.
And Warlock died again in the fight. They have that mid observer ward, and they just saw that the SF was isolated.
It's the observer ward inside the jungle, sees Karka farming, know exactly where he is. So Notel just holds him there. The spirits are down, and Anna slices him too with lightning.
The vision game was poor inside the pit, but great everywhere else. Mid-fight bottom, that's what, 4 heroes down. They lost Aegis, still no rock cast. Vaith is kind of at a loss as to how to position himself in these fights. I wonder what item you actually get.
Is Blink Dagger the way to do it, where you get more range? At this point, you'd almost wonder if it's worth picking up like a Shadow Amulet and just prepping yourself in a position.
I think he's going to have the issue by the time he actually gets items to deal with the Enigma, Enigma's going to have Octarine Refresher.
Yeah.
And it's not going to matter whether or not you stop one rock, because the damage will already be done, and they'll just cast another Black Hole with a Refresher with second BKB. So, and unfortunately, the solution was to play better in the first 20 minutes, but that you can't go back on the pass, so he has to look forward to how to deal with it. Blink Dagger is like, I don't
yeah.
I don't know if you want to get Blink Dagger on a Warlock.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You need something else that's able to protect you but still get you into the fight.
Yeah.
Well, top lane's going to be pushing in for Newbee. Now, the BKB should be back up now for SC. Naga Siren does still not have her song available. It's 15 seconds before it's back off cooldown. And OG have already shown they're happy to lose an objective on the map. They smoke just out of range of the observer ward. Now, there has to be some warning bells flagging up here from Newbee. The Radiant scan up, it actually pings correctly. So they understand that OG is moving in. A quick push in as he actually got forced up into the tower, triggered his own BKB. And now there's no BKB up for this fight. The Song of the Siren groups him in. They're hiding inside the tree lines. Familiars reveal. The stomps can be perfect. And there's your Black Hole. Only catching one, but it's a big one. Again, they remove the Warlock from the fight. He just can't do anything right. The Life Stealer will get trapped up to U9, protecting himself, jumping inside the Infest. But SC, there is no protection. He's surrounded by a tree and a hard place. And maybe the hard place is bigger with the SK Epicenter. Jirax wants a TP out. The Yule Scepter. He'll cancel it at the last moment as Jirax stunned up, locked up, and brought down. Newbee, even without the rock, maybe it's the fight, but Anna, he's not done yet. He wants round two, able to pull back in the Lion. Kaka Naga will fall. KP and U9, now they have to team up. Looking towards S4, munching him down. One more swing. Has he got the range? He does. It's an ultra kill for U9. KP still in the neighborhood. They know Anna is here to fight, but the blink, the burrow strike, familiars are here. Fly has returned, and he's looking for more damage if they can do it. U9 has to rage and protect himself with the physical damage in the Soul Assumption. He's toggling his way through this fight. The Yule Scepter keeping Visage out. KP, is this a sacrifice? Is he doing it for the team? No, Kaka is here. Create more space, but they're not done yet. The BT's forward. No Tails on the front line. No Song of the Siren. No control, and the disengage is there.
That was a brilliant fight by the Lifestealer. His positioning won them the fight because it made S4 get greedy. He wanted a 4-man black hole, at least a 3. He's like, I could probably get these 2 guys. He of course wanted to get Warlock, so that's the one that he was definitely looking for. And then he just tried to get the 2 heroes on the north side of the hole, and he actually only got 1 hero with it because he tried to go for 3, possibly 4.
Wow. Oh, what a fight.
What a fight indeed.
You know, when we're coming into the series, I was already expecting some high-quality play. I hope for some fantastic team fights. And I think everything, and this is only game 1, 27 minutes in, has already been ticked. And this game will go on for a while. There's still so much for Newbee to work with. Their top 2 cores are up so high. As you can see, there's almost nothing in this game. The D-push, the control that comes out from OG is so fantastic as well. There's no easy solution for either of these teams to win the game.
Naga needs to bump her farm up a lot. She is still very far behind despite having a Radiance at, I would say, a decent timing. But right now, like, the illusions are just so weak that they just die in all the AoE. Sinking ulti, Fatal Bonds, or Requiem easily clears out the illusions, and she's not getting enough Radiance damage in the fights.
But at least the supports are like really difficult to kill off too. Like Fly's finished up his Solar Crest. You've got the Enigma, who's again still #1 net worth on the field, but that Octarine core is rapidly approaching for him. So even with all the farm that's coming out, you're still getting a lot of work arriving from all 5 heroes.
They have a lot of chances. With the Octarine and the cooldown reduction, you can have Black Hole up every couple of minutes, and you can easily mess up.
It's the blink. It's the blink for Warlock.
It's not a bad option.
He understands, right? Like, he's got to be so far back, and then what do you do as OG? Like, you start scouting with Naga Illusion, start scouting with everything you've got.
To kill the Warlock, I think that's the solution. Or you just get a refresher on Enigma, you just don't care if you get rocked. That's probably the better solution, I'd say.
So you just refresh your BKB and go again?
Yeah, why not? I don't think they can, like, Lifestealer can't do damage to him. The only one that can actually kill him during BKB is SF.
But do you then look for more control coming out from him? Because you start wondering, like, okay, Storm Spirit hasn't got his Orchid, he hasn't got his Bloodthorn. Do you have to get the Scythe Device over on the Enigma? Do you need items like this to start controlling up the Lifestealer so he can't just toggle and rage his way through an engagement?
I think the Solar Crest is actually pretty good to deal with the Lifestealer. You just use defensively on whomever is getting jumped. But I don't know. Maybe I was thinking more about the Warlock Enigma battle. Maybe you go like a refresher on Warlock to counter the the Enigma refresher.
But then again, he still needs to live. Like, that's true. That's the primary issue of the Warlock in every single fight. He doesn't live through it. And OG have been very good about that. They're target prioritizing. They understand at the start of the fight, the Warlock must die. If he dies, the fight's going to be good for them. Or at least it's going to be even for them. They're still battling against a really high net worth SF as well as Lifestealer. This is still a major, major issue for them.
I think they just need a combo to disable. I don't think Enigma actually has to black hole the Warlock. They just need to be able to identify his positioning and silence him. The Orchid's coming up soon on the Storm, and they can just get him to control the Warlock, and then Enigma can, you know,
just do his thing.
Peaceful. Yeah,
but then where does your damage come? Like, the Enigma throws out the black hole. Is that enough damage in itself?
Earth Spirit, or sorry, Elder Titan is more than enough, I would say.
With a combo? All right.
Yeah. That's a lot of damage, and it's through BKB with Midnight Pulse and the Earth Splitter, so that's good enough. Maybe once the Satanic comes out on SF, you might have a little bit of an issue.
Yeah.
But generally, it should be okay.
Yeah, that's where my mind is starting to turn as well. It's just like, so where's your physical damage start arriving from? It's not going to come from the Naga. The Naga's going to be pushing you back out. So can you morph this Storm Spirit into being that big pop damage?
I think actually Visage is the...
Is Visage becomes it?
Yeah. She's a really good damage dealer. He, she, it?
Visage.
So it's like, wait a second.
I will not assume his or her gender. Okay, blink away to the trees and get out. KP, Storm Spirit. Anna so close. to potentially finding him in the trees. But this is what I was talking about with KP. He always finds himself in these type of situations. I got to split push, I got to create space. Meanwhile, the jungle, the Ancients, they all get opened up for the Lifestealer as well as for the SF. But this will become harder. Now, Manta Style gets completed over on the Naga Siren. The split push becomes more and more real.
Is he going pipe on the Sand King?
It's a pipe of insight.
I wouldn't have expected that coming out from the Sand King, but it is pretty good. You need some way to deal with the... They do have majority magic damage, especially with the Radiance, and it's really good versus Natural Order, too. And they need some ways to keep their cores alive, because they're the ones that are going to be getting Black Hole, not the Sand King. So having secondary items that actually indirectly or directly buff your cores, like Vlad, Solar Crest, Pipe, are really, really good for this particular game.
All right, KP, he's got a carrier with him. The Infested Lifestealer. So is this that gank time we'll be looking for from Newbee? They haven't got a smoke up just yet. In fact, they're going to find the Enigma conversions. Careful about that. It's going to be really good money that actually just helped him finish his pipe. I actually wonder where Enigma goes now with his talent tree as well. And we're going to start checking this kind of stuff as well.
Roche is up again.
So does any team really want to go in there? It seems hard enough as it is for like any team to come out and top in the fight.
Both sides is very difficult. Radiant side, if they have, maybe if they have more minus armor or they have a smoke, like if they have a Medallion, they can actually probably sneak it in. Medallion just cuts the time down that you take Roche by like a good 5 or 6 seconds, and something like that's enough to actually sneak in a fight. They need to be able to get Roche down to like 5 or 10% before the Naga can sleep. And Dire side, they just don't have a good Roche lineup. You mentioned that they don't have any physical damage.
Yeah. It will take so long. Middle lane, the Lifestealer might be in a little bit of trouble. Karka's here to try and get rid of as many of these illusions as possible, and then Storm Spirit jumps in, goes to the silence, the Burrow Strike, creates enough space with the Finger of Death. Anna might be in trouble. A little bit more for U9, and he will fall. Big dominating spree, ended by No Tail. They tried. Newbee tried the Song of the Siren just on the edge. KP fell asleep while he was burrowing out, but the Fog of War, it doesn't protect him now. The creep wave sees him, but KP and Ensnare, they're not going to commit too heavily. Song of the Siren is lost. Familiars, they keep the stuns. Now Anna, he goes in. KP gets the Burrow Strike, and Anna will fall. He went in deep. Support was at range from OG, but not close enough to help him out. That's a dangerous loss as well. No Song of the Siren, but it's also Bloodstone Charges lost. And OG, are you really wanting to do this now?
They'll have to sleep up very soon. That was really good positioning. Notice that Warlock was nowhere in the fight. You could not see him at all.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you want from Faith. And he was sitting up to T3. I was watching his positioning to just make sure that if S4 had Blink Dagger at that fight, he still would have been able to cancel the Black Hole. So another kind of fishing sleep. Like he was trying to see how many heroes he can get with the sleep, and he only got one, and only after he had already struck away.
Come on, he just left this party, got into a quick sandstorm, needs time. You also have to abide. He still has Burrow Strike available. SC also with the Requiem of Souls doing some work. KP, there's your Burrow Strike back up again. Watching the ET split, not really hurting anyone. SC staying inside the pit, and has to jump back out. The rock will drop. No real kills from an S4. The shortest Black Hole in the history of Dota is gone. And they'll keep their attention now. Newbee towards Roshan with no Enigma, with no Visage up, and no Song of the Siren at the moment. Newbee should be able to claim this Aegis for the second time.
A very awkward call to go into the pit right there. I don't know who made that call, but it was like, yeah, they have to sleep up soon, but they don't actually want to be the ones taking Roche. If you're taking Roche, you can't sleep and finish Roche.
Yep.
It's just not a really good place for them to be at all. Looks like Enigma did take the respawn time talent, so he's back up right now.
But it's like the indecision, right? Like you saw No Tail, the second that mid-fight happens, like, okay, so Anna died, they went directly into Roshan. And then the entire team came back out again, triggered the Shrine, and then went back down towards Roshan.
Yeah, I think Lion's been playing pretty well. He was able to control Storm up in the last 2 fights. Like this fight, he zips in and then just gets destroyed later as they're trying to finish him off. And you mentioned like the items coming out on a sinking. He's able to stay alive for so long. He doesn't even die at the end of the fight. Anna controlled up on the right side, and S4 he's like, what do I do here? There's just an SF over here.
It was a nothing play. It's like, okay, I may as well use this. The Black Hole will be back off cooldown by the time the next fight happens. I'll just commit.
the Warlock's been playing a lot better than the first 20 minutes too. That time he's like, you don't always want to use it for Black Hole. He saw a kill opportunity on Enigma. He's like, who cares if he holds? He's just going to die if he does.
Yeah.
If he drops the rock at that particular moment. So now we see the Blink Dagger on Warlock, so it makes life a lot harder for Ana, I would say, because he's the one that actually needs to look for the Warlock in the
Ana's
fights.
hiding. I'm wondering if that Remnant's actually going to get triggered because you got KP in the lane, but Ana in the tree lines and does his Ball Lightning TP out. No one's close enough to stop it. Kako blinked down, but a little too late.
That was risky.
Yeah. But I think he understood too, like he didn't know exactly where they have vision. And it's actually KP cashing out a Dire Courier as well.
His pipe saved him in that fight too. If he'd gone for a more greedy build like Scepter, he would have died.
He also was able to dodge, like the last Soul Assumption, he dodged with Sandstorm too. He was underneath, I believe, a Dire Sentry Ward during that fight. Because they kept the damage pumping into him.
Enigma's falling off a lot too. Enigma's generally, especially with this build, the Midas Octarine, when you get it this early, you're supposed to be able to come out way ahead in gold. He should not be number 4 right now. Ideally, you'd be probably like 18,000, 19,000 net worth.
Yeah.
But slowly but surely, they will be catching up. Newbee, in the meantime, their cores are getting massive. Satanic already out my Shadow Fiend, so now he has a way to deal with the Black Hole because
he's got a double way. He's got the Aegis Immortal plus the Satanic at the moment.
With BKB Butterfly, your mention of them having not enough physical damage is coming to fruition.
Yep. And this is where you can now fall back to OG's secondary strat. Like, you've still got Naga Illusions, you've still got the ET Spirit. It's very difficult for Newbee to go inside the base, mainly because the creep wave won't come with them. Their heroes will survive, but the creep waves will not, which means backdoor regeneration becomes a real problem for that push coming in from Newbee.
Time to split push, wait for some more items. Enigma, no sign of anything on his quick buy yet.
Oh, is that a Courier Sniper mid? I think Ada's looking for it. Yeah, he managed to claim it. Just catching it on the way back out again. A little cheeky, but stops the resupply coming to Newbee in the front lines.
Just need to waste their time, and they're trying to desperately cut the creep wave off, and Newbee are trying to kill the Naga Illusions before the creep waves die.
Good luck. Like, the Lion has to do so much work to try and keep him down. It's actually Diffusal Blade being built over on a Naga. Blink Bar. Oh, they found him. They found the real No-Tail, but what do? You're too far away. Like, you can't attack in. No-Tail is still very tanky. That's why KP tries to get into a better spot, but Ana already there.
Warlock's pretty good at hiding. They're trying to scout him out with the Naga Illusion. Like, where is Warlock?
He's a long way away. But the top lane was still pushed in nicely from the Storm Spirit, so the Tier 2 tower was dropped. So while, yes, it's a good push from Newbee to take that mid tower, they remove all the outer towers, you still have the issue where you haven't taken a Tier 3, so you can't attack the shrines just yet. And OG have the 2 Tier 2 towers down that they want to have down. It's the side lanes. They'll keep pushing this out. They'll try and keep splitting up a team that wants to be together when they push up. They're splitting Newbee out.
Look at Fly's gold. Spent on support items. 3730 gold spent on support items. That's a lot. That's like way more than you need for the challenge.
This game is more than a challenge.
It's just a lot of gold. 3730 is actually incredible amounts.
He actually had to, because like we checked a head-to-head actually with Jirax and KP, and I think we did this like maybe 15 minutes ago, and Jirax had nothing. Like, he had Tranquil Boots, and that was it. So after that point, I think Fly has just stepped up and said, okay, I've got everything that I need to do the fights, now it's up to you. So they get their double force ups, they can play the maneuverability game, they can start cutting the Lifestealer, you get Glimmer Cape as well. More problematic if you're trying to get these pickoffs. So everything is just survivability and hold the high ground, and then when the fights happen, make the most out of it too.
Survivability is important, but you also have to look at the damage. The Visage is going to be their main source of physical damage. They need like Solar AC is pretty standard, I would say, on the Visage, and they actually really need it because of the butterfly and whatnot on the SF, and not to mention the heart on the Lifestealer now.
It's either that or OG just play for the team fight. Like, if they just play for that, like play for the high ground, you get a good Song of the Siren off, the BKBs are going to really start to drop for SF, and he's not going to go refresher rob on his.
BKB, but Satanic's another survivability tool, though, so he can still survive, because they don't actually have any ways to stop him from attacking except for Black Hole.
Yeah, Black Hole's kind of it.
Yeah.
But either that or you get the familiar drops. But keeping the familiars alive in a fight also appears to be very difficult for Fly.
Yeah. That's one thing that Newbee has been really good at, is killing familiars.
Yeah. There's Refresher Orb now for S4. So if it is the one thing that works, he's going to have 2 of them.
He needs it
and
badly.
That's on top of the Blink Dagger. So he's going to have a really good position with the BKB Black Hole and then being able to go straight again.
It shouldn't have gotten to this point for OG, though. Now they're having to brute force with items over finessing them with sleep into Enigma Hole. Like, imagine if they were actually playing from behind and they were down in gold. That's how they would actually have to play. They can't rely on the Refresher to outplay the Warlock. But now that the game has gotten to this point, they need items to make up for something that bad that's potentially going to happen in a team fight, which is fine.
All right, so again, back to the farm kind of style.
Isn't this Naga game interesting, Toby?
This Naga game's amazing, man. Like, I'm so
really
interested.
No, this game is getting really good.
No,
Icefield is super fat now.
Yep.
SECC is super fat, and they've weathered the storm in between the disastrous early game, and they've gotten to their BKBs while still actually having other items. Like, if you go BKB and don't do anything else, that's pretty useless. Yep. But now they have BKB and then some. And they've transitioned quite nicely.
You know, the reason why I love these type of games is just because it can come down to one big decision. The longer this game goes on, the more there is on the line, the more items there are for these extraordinary players just to capitalize on. And it's like, I'm wondering just how these fights end up being painted. You're seeing OG now smoking forward. They want a target. They only see U9 and KP acting almost like an old school Earthshaker. Sitting behind him, he's going to be that saving grace if it's possible. But Newbee understand what's going on. They're very cautious. They're very experienced with this type of game, and this is just a fantastic, it's almost a dance between these two teams to see who can get their foot just under the other and trip them up.
They have a huge issue with burst on OG's side. Like, let's say Ana jumps the Sand King, because their only hard disable is Black Hole and Electric Vortex. That's it. They have no other, I suppose, Visage Stuns, but that's pretty short and pretty unreliable.
Yeah.
So how do you actually kill the Sand King in a Vortex? You can't. There's like just not enough damage from them right now, which is a big issue because now KP can just sit on the sideline and look around in the fights. He doesn't even have that much HP. It's 1560 HP. That's not very much at all.
Yeah.
But with the pipe, with the defensive from the Yules and all these other items,
I wonder if it's almost worth like building into the
heart for him.
It's stupid. Like, he's gonna start to max out items. Like, he's already got the Ether Lens.
BKB, I would say. Is better than Heart. Heart is not that great versus the
but he's
Enigma.
looking at 4-star for the moment. That's going to basically max out his items.
Sand King has this sick regen talent. He has like something ridiculous in terms of his regen. 50 health regen at level 25. 50. You don't need Heart on the guy, at least for regeneration.
Just resist and regen. That's going to be the play for him.
50 regen. That just boggles my mind sometimes with some of these talents that just sound so godly. That's 10 Ring of Health. You can't even fit that in your inventory.
Balance, man. That's what it is in Dota.
It's pretty good, though.
Well, you asked for
I love that talent.
You asked for one thing to happen, and that was for No-Tail to find farm. He's now #1 on the net worth.
That was fast. How'd that happen?
Everything that we just split pushing all the lanes. Like, this is around that time when everyone just starts holding together. You had the ET and the Enigma sitting next to the Secret Shop, and No-Tail took all the side lanes. Ana has been almost 100% focused on the jungle, and normally he's been very aggressive going over towards the Radiant side of the jungle. So he's trying to take the farm away from Newbee and is starting to hit them on the board. Now, obviously, you're still running hand of mines, and we're obviously going to also get to a point where the money will probably stop mattering because everyone's going to 6 slot up. The SF's going to 6 slot up, so it doesn't matter if he's going to be #1 net worth. It's going to be about buyback timing. It's going to be about having all the rest of your critical items you want. He's almost finished up the Monkey King bar, and then it's Moonshard BT level 2 and you're basically done.
Bloodthorn on U9 too. Huh. That's actually quite curious. Normally you'll see MKB or Mjolnir. Those are the two items that you generally see. Mjolnir to clear out the Naga illusions and to deal damage if you're not able to right-click people, or MKB to just slice up the Naga as quickly as possible. The Bloodthorn is good versus the Storm and the Naga Siren, so that's actually a really smart item choice.
That's definitely good against the Storm when he didn't pick up a Lincoln Sphere.
He had it on quick buy.
He did? Okay,
yeah.
so we did actually get that. Okay, so it was Lincoln's Blood and the Orchid.
Now they might need Lotus Orbs on Dire side too, so the items are starting to rack up. Yeah, so you have to get a Lotus Orb versus the Lion.
It's double the whole time, and you can see OG grouping up for a smoke. They'll dodge
number 3.
They'll dodge the gank of Newbee, and now they come out. 5-man strong, double black hole from the Enigma, ready to rock and rumble.
But OG can't do Roche themselves. That's a huge issue with this lineup.
They almost have to bait Newbee into coming to check it, which is sort of what happened before. And Kaka's checking it now.
Checking it's not a big deal. They need them to like.
Well, almost able to TP out, but into the 9-stop for the Bloodstone. It's not enough to keep Jirax alive, and Newbee, they will wipe OG from the face of the pit and then take Roshan to boot.
Oh God. I thought he got the SF with the hole, and then he didn't, and then they popped the Shrine, and then you could see no one dying.
Let's see that again. Oh.
Wow.
Man.
That he really wanted to get SEC, but they have no reserve reward up there. Not close enough. I actually can't believe that it didn't get the SF this fight. And Ana's trying his best to stop the damage, but SEC is just chucking away at them.
Oh boy. OG, they've been so good, but this is now the second fight you've seen Newbee come out on top. You mentioned the Observer Ward, I think that's it again. It's the vision game. Newbee knew exactly what they could get away with, and they got away with it.
There's only been one positioning blunder by SECC, and that was near the T1 on top. And after that, they've been phenomenal at spacing themselves out properly and just making life really difficult for S4. He's trying his best to get as many people as he can in the black hole. Yeah, there were 2 black holes, and I think he got with 2 people. I guess Warlock kind of had it at the very end. I don't know if that really counts, but he got 2 black holes, an average of like 2 heroes per, and one of them support. Kaka has the respawn talent too, so he doesn't even really care if he dies.
Yeah, respawn talent as well as the 2.3k life and a full heart. Wait, he's got a second heart in his quick buy. He can't go double heart on a Lion, can he?
Why not?
This isn't a thing. Like
he can do what he wants.
Like having Aghanim himself is going to be better for him. Well, the catch out, Kaka trying to go deep to put down the Observe Ward, and he is Orchid up and will die. So even with the heart, he won't survive. KP, a quick sandstorm, he gets caught out by the Song of the Siren. This is big, remember KP expected his buyback in the fight before, but there was no damage! He blinks away! TP support coming towards Faith, SC will arrive in the back of the BTs. And OG have to consider if they still want this fight. No Song of the Siren, no way to disengage. Yes, he's got the cause, the rock will fall, the BKB will protect it, and the epicenter, KP going to bring in the damage, but SC goes down, 99 seconds without him. The Aegis Immortal, it brings life back again to U9, ready to fight another day, but can he? He's controlled, and he's losing his friends. KP's gone, and now it's U9 on the world. He'll infest and take the column. He'll try and survive inside the big chaotic offering. It won't be enough. Pop back out, diffused up, controlled up, and brought down. Lion was trying to make it back in time to help him, but Kaka knows it was futile.
Without the line, they actually have no control for the Storm. So Storm could do whatever he wanted in that fight. Yeah, 2x Midnight Pole, that's a lot of damage.
All right, OG. They want to enter the base. Double buybacks will have to be committed here from Newbee to defend it. And there's your first one. It's SC back. The Orchid silence. Well, Lion will survive that. One familiar gets picked off. And OG, the buyback from the SF may be enough to dissuade them from going to the Tier 3 towers. And in fact it is. They will retreat at the 50-minute mark. They're happy. They're happy to send us into probably 2 a.m. to finish day 1 of DAC.
I actually can't believe that he's going for 2 hearts. I mean, the heart in the first place is surprising. Usually you just get BKB. It's like, yeah, whatever, I'll just BKB it off. And they don't really have that much solution to BKB, but the heart's very curious.
It's the whole idea, right? I survive. I will survive.
Man, this cooldown reduction is insane, though. Look, like the Enigma almost has both his black holes up, and Lifesteal hasn't even respawned.
We actually have to start renaming Kaka. Kaka is the doctor. The man with 2 hearts. With a low respawn time is basically regeneration power.
I wonder if he's going to take the +3 mana
Kaka,
drain.
keep running, keep running. He'll go invis. Oh, S4 doesn't see him. They lost the gem before, and they do not have any vision of him this time. So he disappears.
So how is Naga doing? Naga's almost topped out, right? Naga is 6-slotted with an Abyssal Blade.
He brought that Abyssal Blade up freshly after the mid push before.
Abyssal Blade is tough. It's good for the Lifestealer, but it's not so great versus the Shadow Fiend. SCZC might need a refresher for 2 BKBs and 2 Satanic. I don't actually know.
What's he done? He's just buying the Hyperstone for now.
It's just hard. If you're sitting in 2 Midnight Pulse, you're just going to die.
Yeah.
Because it lasts longer than the Satanic. And they are going to hold him, or try to hold him. I guess he just has to stay out of the hole. They probably need more 4-steps on the Radiant side to play around Midnight Pulse.
Well, he's got the Dragonlance sitting on the side. Maybe it is worth finishing a Hurricane Pike and keeping that up for the. But having a Hurricane Pike when you're a 6-slotted SF feels wrong.
Ideally, you just have like Lotuses and 4-steps on your supports.
Can you subscribe to the Book of Kai and not try and raise your life, but actually raise your armor? Go for the double butterfly.
Double butterfly doesn't help versus the issue though. He died at Midnight Pulse last fight, not the right clicks.
It's like if he raises his life though, it's going to be even more difficult.
He would not be a good SF player.
I would not.
I'm actually a terrible SF player myself.
That's why I play simple heroes like Venom Hancer. Let me put a ward down. Hey, it does all my damage for me. Yay!
That's too many actives on that hero.
It's just ... That's all.
So he's going Lotus Orb 2 on Visage. So
okay.
that means all their damage is coming from their cores. No firepower from the supports. Really have to rely on Ana to do a lot of the damage here.
Well, he does have the Bloodstone, the Bloodthorn finished up, and the bypass finishing is Skadi to do so. Also, not dying is a very useful thing. So he's not falling well behind. It is a Manta on the quick buy of Lifestealer.
He has problems against the Orchid.
I think he also has problems with the Ensnare. He got locked in when he popped back out of the Aegis the Immortal, and they just kited him out from that point.
That's why they need the Lotuses on supports, or Lotus and 4-steps, so they can buff up the cores, just like the Dire Side is doing. If you have to waste your money on that Manta style, like you want MKB at this point as a Lifestealer. Or, yeah, MKB, maybe even... I'm trying to think of any other items for Lifestealer. I think Butterfly's pretty good too, but you'd have to rely on
You can't really buy those items though, because right now I think Warlock is focused on staying alive, and staying alive, which means he can't get out there and find any farm. He's the lowest net worth. Lion would be the one person that can do it. He's putting himself in the thick of things, but he's still looking to be the doctor.
I think
grabbing two
Sand King
hearts.
could too. Instead of a BKB, he could potentially grab a Lotus.
Do you actually turn the Lion into this position of saying, you know what, I'm going to be that front person where I want you to attack me and not everybody else? Because it does take him a lot to bring him down.
He has no armor. So he died very quickly last time. You get Solar Crested, you're like very close to negative armor as the Lion.
So then the AC makes no sense. Like Shiva's would probably make more sense over on him than the secondary heart. But I still agree with you, like the items for survivability with the 4-staffs, that also makes more sense.
Yeah.
Keep SC in the best position.
Lotus gives you armor though. He had like what, 5 armor when I was looking at him, a few from Tranks and then +5 from the AC. So 13 armor with an aura, that's pretty low.
SC showing himself. There's still a lot of Newbee behind. There's your BKB into the black hole, holding SC down. The first rock is going to drop, and S4 wants to go for a secondary black hole. He's losing his life quickly, and he knew he had to let it rip, and they've got the kill. No SC for almost 2 minutes, but what damage can now be done? You're looking for it, the epicenter, KP, he's sung, and maybe with a burrow strike forward. They do have that Infest life sillies to work. Anna jumping back forward, looking for his target onto the Lion. So Kaka is down, and Song of the Siren will now be committed. They will hold him there. Faith wants to start his TP out. Malphus will stop that one. So it's KP and Faith, 2 different sides, 2 different battles, but the result is the same. It is death all round. Lifestealer will buy back. Lion's got his, but this is the best window of opportunity OG have had in a while to go high ground.
Huge play by S4. The Shadow Fiend's the only one that can do range damage during Black Hole. So he's not going to die during BKB Black Hole if he holds SF, and he just holds him twice. And there's nothing that they can do about it unless you get Refresher on Warlock. That's the only way to stop it, surprisingly.
Oh, U9 trying to solo hold this bottom, but you can see the 3-pronged attack. Coming in, S4 and Jirax are working the bottom lane. The Lotus Orb will protect him, and he knows it, so U9 has to be cautious, but middle lane's being beaten down. Faith will come out as well. The Lion is back alive again. Looks like Anna is going to retreat out. There's a big wave pushing in through top, and in fact, you're seeing the TP top lane as well. Someone has to go up here to defend it. Without the SF, they don't have the clearance. KP's coming back alive again, so there's the Nagasar and Illusion's doing the push. U9, Orchid on him, they've got to be careful. They can't lose U9 here. KP with the burrow strike, trying to create space. U9 able to back out. S4, he's let the BKB run. He's got 7 seconds. That black hole is back off cooldown. They cannot keep this engagement going, or can they? They baited out longer. Kaka on the run. Heart won't protect you now. The buyback is out. Back your black hole! It catches 2 on the back line. Kaka can't stop it. They're going to lose everything here, Newbee, and maybe even the game with no life steal for 2 minutes. They do. They call it 57 minutes, and OG will take game 1 of this winners bracket semi-final best of 3.
I really like that game. There were 2 varying philosophies for each of the teams. I think on the Radiant side, the supports kind of played themselves, whereas OG, they enabled their cores. I think it's one of the best things that OG does is enabling their cores to shine. Like 4 Stabs and Lotuses, it was a really big issue that they couldn't save the SF in that last fight. The Lifestealer also had a bit of Manta style because he's scared of one puny Orchid / Bloodthorn. But I think Newbee did play very well. But I think it was a small draft victory coming out from OG, and just no great black hole counter aside from Faith, who got destroyed in the first 20 minutes of the game.
Yeah. And the best black hole counter they seemed to have was Observer Wards. Like they just knew the better fight to take. They knew when S4 wasn't going to do enough. But yeah, when the Refresher Orb came out, everything started to work for him.
Too many items.
Yeah, and too many heroes to ban as well. Like we've seen so many spectacular heroes in just this one game. We knew what all came out from the group stage as well. I cannot wait to see what happens in game 2, how the draft unfolds. And of course, there's some guys out there who know exactly what to talk about with that one. It's the panel.
You'd hope so, wouldn't you? Thank you very much, Toby. We will come back to Toby, of course, and Malini for game number 2. What an interesting game we've got to break down. Peter, what did you make of that?
It was a pretty good game. It was
fun to watch.
Yeah, it was an awesome game to start the tournament.
Yep.
Definitely saw some high-level Dota from both teams. Shaky start from Newbee. It looked like they were a little. They were trying to put pressure on the Naga in the early game, and it kind of worked. Like Naga didn't really farm that much, but they gave up a bunch of kills. But they did make like a mid-game comeback, and they had a ton of great plays, and we saw some huge epicenters and Warlock, Fatal Bonds combos, but in the end, just like OG had too much team fight, and the Enigma is so strong with all the cooldown reduction, like BKB and Blink Dagger, and all of his items are just always up.
Yeah, no, Black Hole was like, is it 50 seconds, I think?
God, no. It's like 100.
No.
Is it? Oh, okay. It felt
feels
like it was
right.
50
He
seconds.
had a refresher, so
like,
he had 2.
He did get 2, didn't
But
he? Yeah.
that's what's so cool about that build is that if you can get away with the Midas, it gets you to a fast level 15, I believe, which is the gold per minute one. It's like 120 GPM. So you have Midas and GPM, or I'm sorry, cooldown reduction at 15, GPM at 20. So you've got a Midas, it lowers your Midas Aegis cooldown, you've got a GPM talent. You get all of your items, and then you get to rely on that like, refresher crap.
And he's a hero that just farms fast. Even like before talents, we saw Enigmas, even like position 4 Enigmas who would jungle, oftentimes even like topping the net worth.
Yeah. There was a lovely early one. There was a 7 minutes in, S4 just wandering around while they're all slept, deciding, shall I put it here? Shall I put it there? Eventually just drops it and Toby loses his voice again.
These fights are ultimately what costs Newbee so much because
in the early game at least.
No. I think in the end it costs them the game because if you look at OG's lineup, right, it's very greedy, and I would say that the sort of like team fight lineup that Newbee have kind of composed, it is one of the big lineups of 7.0, and even going a little bit further backwards is that in order to win in this meta, you have to actually win a team fight. So a lot of these team fight heroes, these carries like Lifestealer are supposed to drop off post like 45 minutes, are actually still plenty relevant. So what OG did is while they drafted their supports, they drafted very greedy. They made sure they still had better late game no matter what because they drafted the supports that scale really well. That's the big thing is like these team fight heroes win your supports.
Well, we talked a lot about the Visage pick. Peter, what do you think in hindsight now?
I mean, I don't know. Like,
it didn't have the biggest impact on the game, did it?
I don't think it had a huge impact. I mean, they won their tri lane with it, which I think is where, I mean, Visage does okay, I guess. You know, he has like a nice soul assumption for a nuke, but I don't think he's particularly strong in a tri lane. So they kind of just got, I don't know. I'm not sold on the hero yet, but
need to see more.
It definitely looked good. He got a lot of farm this game, and he was he actually took quite a while for like Lifestealer or someone to really kill because he had a bunch of items.
Ultimately, you see the weakness in Visage through a bad early game, right? Like you put pressure, like if you're able to win a tri lane against that hero, or you dominate at least 10,
I also
15
didn't
minutes.
I didn't really see his impact in the mid game. We saw Newbee kind of making this comeback. You know, maybe another hero could have been better, whether it was like Disruptor or something that could also combo with the Naga. But
so it's always going to look good as long as OG keep winning the first 15 minutes of the game.
I mean, I think the Birds did a lot in terms of team fight setup, at least. Like in the crucial Botrax fight, for example, they were the one that set up the stun on the Lifestealer, and it's like a more like random way to set up the stun. You can go hit the Birds, they get a stun off, luckily, then you start chain stunning. Like there's definitely openings that the Birds help you grab. I feel like it was pretty justified.
Seems okay. I mean, do they pick him first because they don't want to reveal kind of their strategy? They want to wait for those 2 picks from Newbee before they start really, you know, going into their strategy, or are they just, you know, really that confident that Visage is the first pick hero?
I think it's a little bit of both. Doesn't seem super confident to me. I don't see him being extremely OP, but there's definitely some solid things. Like he's constantly full HP. It's difficult for Newbee to actually jump on him first. It wasn't usually until like halfway through the team fights that he would melt usually. So I'm sure his damage output, if we get to the score screen, was really solid, especially with Elder Titan amping up his soul assumption nuke and his physical damage. Seemed okay to me. But yeah, it definitely looked a lot harder for OG than the other days that they drafted Naga with the Enigma, mostly because of the Warlock. So I liked Newbee's draft a lot, that they protected against that, but it obviously still had some issues.
Yeah, it gives them plenty of questions for game 2, doesn't it?
Yeah. Do they grab the Warlock again? I think it's safe, but they've got to win the tri lane as well if they pick too greedy.
They do a little better in the early game. I think that mid game kind of success that they had actually kind of routes them into a win, like you were saying. But the game just went too long, and Naga has short cooldown on sleep, Enigma has short cooldowns on everything, and there's just too much team fight. Maybe if Warlock had a refresher, they would have had some opportunities, but we saw S4 just kind of bombing into team fights with Black Hole BKB on top of Shadow Fiend, and then Warlock would ult, and then he would just do it again.
I do feel like that kind of playstyle kind of caught Newbee by surprise in some ways, right? When they first went for that pressure on Nagasar and they wrapped 3 heroes behind, I think they're sort of naturally assuming that we've seen a lot of teams, we learned this lesson about like abandoning your safe lane like fairly early on, and OG, they went the exact opposite of that route, where they're actually protecting that safe lane very early on because they're so cooldown dependent, right? And they get this early Black Hole, they get this early Naga Siren. They actually want to take that first initial team fight and kind of set the pace, right? Get those cooldowns and use them now, right, in order to get a good offensive team fight. And I think that kind of caught Newbee by surprise.
That wasn't OG taking the fight. That was Newbee giving them the fight.
I would say in some ways the positioning was, like, you're not just going to, they didn't just, like, mass TP in because, like, oh, God, like, we're getting dove, right? They already had in that kind of positioning in the first place. I think they had the plan to be able to protect their Naga Siren lane.
5-figure damage from every single player on the OG side.
It's pretty good. I'm surprised Jarek's is so high, actually. It's a little higher than Fly's, but
And 33,700 from S4.
Yeah, Kaka and Faith, the Warlock and the line, really low damage numbers. That you could definitely see their value, but it's not quite the same thing. And if your damage output is on a Shadow Fiend and a Lifestealer and you're playing against a Black Hole hero, that makes it straightforward. Black Hole those guys, get them killed, and their damage is done.
MVP for this game? Where do we go with this one? Quite tough, isn't it, to pick one player out? But would S4 be the man?
Enigma had huge impact. I think he had a couple of misplays, and also black holing after Naga Sleep isn't like the most.
He wandered around for about 3 seconds before he decided where he wanted to try.
Yeah,
where he would throw it. So
fit in the right angle. No, I think OG as a team played very well. So
always hard, isn't it, when the team plays well to pick out one individual? Because that's the essence of the game, really, isn't it? When the team comes together like that.
Yeah, I think Jarex was probably a silent hero in that game as well. We saw how much hero damage he had. We didn't even notice. So.
That's hard to do with just that hero. You have like 2 mediocre nukes. The first 2 skills, he must have landed a lot of really big ultimates and stuff like that.
I was about to say, again, it's kind of like the Black Hole, right? It's like the Song of Siren comes in, you just throw down your ulti, and you get like probably 2K damage off of that.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
I would agree. I think it's just like everyone kind of came together. I mean, they had a team fight crafted lineup, right? So
maybe Ana. I don't know. He did have a crap load of kills, but he could have definitely played a little better as well. There's something you're talking about downstairs where if S4 initiates with the Black Hole, Ana's got to just jump for the backline to try to maybe catch the Warlock. Because if he does, you get a full duration Black Hole. That makes your team fight completely different.
That was kind of one of the holes in their draft, is that they didn't really have that vision hero to find Warlock, so they kind of had to go in blind.
Yeah, I think that's why we were talking about the Monkey King, maybe the Beastmaster at the end of that draft would have fitted for vision. But
there's a couple options. It's hard to do as a 4.
Yeah.
Seeing that lineup and seeing it in play and how the Elder Titan added to it, do you prefer having the added team fight power, or do you think the Vision hero still would have been potentially better or just different, I guess?
I've more and more favored large team fight lineups this patch. I've just seen the teams with the better team fight just winning the games. So I think it was fine to go that route. I would be interested to see a team kind of try a different route, but I think it would potentially be like a little more finesse and possibly harder to pull off.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to get some more social media questions right now. Thank you for all of you putting them into the Reddit post. Do head over to Dota 2's Reddit right now and stick your questions in there. Hopefully they'll appear on the screen throughout the day. We're not too far away from the drafts. Let's take another. Which teams could cause the biggest upsets? Well, I think we saw Empire in the group stages for sure.
I think any team in the best of 1 category. I think that the best of 3s, this one's really close. I think that IG will probably take the next one over Empire, and then any of the best of 1s where there's kind of like upset potential. Faceless Liquid. I mean, Faceless looks pretty bad this tournament, but they went 2-0 over Wings, and they had a couple nice victories in the group stage.
And they're a bit cheesy.
Yeah, it's just one game.
Best of 1's perfect for them, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the best opportunity for an upset.
Okay.
I actually think for like long-term, like really deep upsets, I thought MP, like they were really inconsistent, but when they were on, I think they looked really good. Like when they had a well-put-together strategy that it felt like they'd played throughout and experienced a lot of, I thought they looked really solid, especially in the versus the EG team. So I think maybe they could be a potential team that surprises everybody. I'm still not fully set on Empire. Obviously, they've already gotten their upset. Whether or not they continue that success is still to be seen. I'm kind of 50-50 on it.
Yeah, I would agree. There's a lot of teams that have had amazing games where they look like top teams, and other games where they looked like the worst team here. So, yeah, there's a lot of unknowns to go.
Yeah, okay. I don't know if that
Take a pick, Purge.
You guys covered all the big ones.
You can agree with us.
Yeah, just
I did.
You agreed with all of us.
It's a very blanket statement of you.
So anyone could be an underdog. I think that's what we've just learned. Let's take another social media question. Why is SMY not picked more despite recent buffs? How to make it viable?
I think it has been, actually. The item was barely touched in the pro scene for at least 2 or 3 months. Mantle was always a pick.
We've seen it.
We've actually seen it a couple times.
I think we saw Echo Saber kind of come into the game and really kind of take over for a lot of, especially like strength heroes.
Yeah.
You know, they favored Sven and Lifestealer, and all these heroes were just like, Echo Saber makes way more sense, and it's like better value and cheaper, and it gave them the mana regen that they were lacking. So it was like a really convenient item for a lot of good reasons. But SNY just seems underwhelming. I think we're seeing a little bit more of it as those.
We saw a little bit in the groups.
I would say that like
Echo
Saber hits a timing of like 15 minutes or something where it like gives you this boost where you kind of need it. SNY almost comes a little bit too late because it's still an item ultimately that you want to transition out of. You're going to throw away that item. Yeah. And we are seeing like a very important scaling. Like everybody wants to be able to scale past 45 minutes. So SNY just hits this awkward timing where it's like, yeah, it feels good at like 20 minutes, but you know, you're going to start thinking about scaling outside of that by 30. While Echo Saber's like, it's right at that sweet timing where it's like, it gives me my early game transitions and adds power to that.
Okay. Still waiting for the draft to come back. Kevin, what are your thoughts on itemization overall so far that you've seen throughout the tournament?
There's some new stuff for sure. Yeah, let's say things like the Midas build on Enigma is maybe one of the newer things that's kind of interesting. Monkey King itemization definitely has some stuff to be figured out still. It seems like the Midas build's the way to go now.
Minuses as a whole, right? Like across the board, there have been a lot of
quite a few. Yeah.
I think with the addition of talents into the game now, it makes a lot more sense to kind of push yourself past the level of 16.
Yeah. Whereas before you're like, oh, I'm 16, I don't care.
Yeah, before
what
it's
happens.
like you wouldn't want to be a higher level because you just give up more gold and you give up more experience and you'd give up
time dead.
Yeah,
always dead
death
forever.
timer, everything. So now it makes sense to get to higher levels because we have such amazing talents at level 20 and level 25 that kind of almost change your hero.
Even those like those level 10 experience gain, like Tusk, for example, I don't really think he's a Midas hero. But when you have plus 40% experience gain, like that Midas looks really good because you just immediately, you get level 10, you have that Midas, you immediately get to level 15, you get 150 extra damage out of Snowball. That's still value when you're getting it at like 20, 25 minutes.
So maybe the talents have changed things a little bit as well. We are into the draft. Are we going to see the same bands? That's the first question we have to come to. And
Naga's already gone.
Yeah,
I think
do Newbee attack this Visage, or do they just go, no, that's not really why?
Visage
they leave it.
Yeah.
This is just going to be left.
Naga was the problem because it's the only split pusher in the game that can actually kind of win you the game because it still gives you really good team fight potential. Right. Most of the other split pushers aren't really a thing right now.
It's good that Newbee has kind of isolated that, isn't it? Because it sort of puts the spoiler on OG's complete draft now, doesn't it? Makes them change things up a bit more.
They can't rely on the Enigma as easily. He's going to actually have to go like Blink Dagger early rather than just Midas into BKB. So
most likely to see like a Centaur or Magnus instead out of S4. The Enigma seems super strong though. I wouldn't be surprised if they go back to it later in the tournament.
I think Magnus is the hero.
An early silencer ban. Interesting.
In which case,
protecting defensive supports would be my guess.
Defensive supports. I think Lifestealer's also still very value when you're dealing with that Magnus because you're talking about like, okay, you're talking about more melee heroes if you're running a Magnus, which Lifestealer's good against, and it's also good synergy with the Magnus as well.
Okay, so Newbee are going to take the Centaur this time. Throwing a little bit of spanner in the, I was going to say we'll go back. Does OG now flip round and take the Lifestealer?
Has No-Tail played a lot of Lifestealer?
Not a huge amount.
No,
I feel like it's not a hero that they've turned to very much, if at all.
I feel like it fits his playstyle, but it hasn't been the hero that they picked up. Way more Terrorblades. Okay,
they're going to lock in the Enigma. They like the Enigma from the first game. Even without the Naga this time around, they're just going to go with it. And we're going to see the Monkey King for the first time at the main event.
So the last time that OG did Monkey King and Enigma, what they did is they basically jungled the Enigma, and Jerax was sitting in the off-lane sort of position, just getting free experience. So he actually accelerated quite a bit on the Monkey King, more so than a lot of other support players have. But then he impacted the lanes less. So slightly different Monkey King here.
I was thinking last game, what if they took Rubik instead of that Lion?
Yeah.
Maybe they would have had a little bit more struggle with the illusions, and maybe they wouldn't have been able to deal with Storm Spirit quite as well, but it would have solved that kind of like refresher Enigma problem. You know, now Rubik can just steal the Black Hole and Black Hole Enigma, and all of a sudden Enigma is just going to die, most likely.
I think this is one of the rare times that Rubik is a really viable support. He feels so bad right now, unless you're versus Enigma. I was talking to, who was it?
I like him.
You still like him?
I've liked him ever since like the addition of talents.
I was telling the story. It was like I was playing a pub against Boba, and he messaged me afterwards. He was like, "Don't pick Rubik." It's like, that hero is bad right now. And I was like, you know, I feel like it's bad.
Maybe he was just putting you down soft.
Maybe, maybe. It's the Rubik. It's not you. It's the Rubik. I swear. But no, it just like feels not very impactful like all of these other scaling supports, excluding this point, right, where Rubik is scaling because he's versus an Enigma. Yeah.
He's got a level 10 GPM talent. I know it's only 60.
It's only 60.
But I'm telling you.
You might as well take the 50 damage and right-click creep some more.
No. It makes a difference. You just walk around, you let all your carries farm, and even if you die a couple times, you get that Blink Dagger that a lot of position 5s don't really get to.
All right, well, I'm going to tell Bulba's a dumbass because I'm not going to argue with PPD.
I mean, Bulba.
You don't need to finish that sentence.
No, no. Bulba is a very smart tactician, and I look forward to Team Onyx playing at the Kev Major.
Okay, that works. Lena Ban in second round, Terrorblade as well. So this maybe leaves the obvious, who's going to get the Lifestealer? Does Newbee get the first pick? This should be OG banning and then Newbee banning, so
I think the problem
OG first pick?
for Newbee is that they can't actually ban away all of the strong laning phase carries that match up well against Centaur. Terrorblade, Lifestealer, Ursa.
It's true. Ursa's not bad with a Black Hole. It's always the hero that wants a little bit more disable from teammates, so
Yeah, because
Could
he's going to
work
have
out well.
kiting issues, right?
Is
He
that
can
a,
kill
is that a
easy.
no-tail hero?
Not really,
Good.
no.
Another good point.
I feel like we're just making up no-tail heroes right
That's
now.
true.
Oh, come on. He can play a lot of stuff. Let's prove it.
But will he?
Probably.
I think I read somewhere last week he's one of the top 4 players in the world for most amount of heroes played in pro games.
It's probably because he's also played a bunch of roles and he's played
And
a
he's been
crap load
here
of games.
forever, yeah.
There's like a certain set of like 8 heroes that are no-tail heroes, and I feel like they've been recycled for about 2 years now, or ever since he switched to carry, which isn't a bad thing. I'm
Yeah,
just
that's true.
he is very, very good at those heroes.
Oh, just
Voker and Ember gone.
just realized what the silencer is banned because they wanted to open Enigma. So
That makes sense.
it must mean they're not scared of the Warlock, is what that tells me. They thought silencers, the laning counter, or the hero that contributes better to the lane than Warlock does, but still counters Black Hole.
Yeah, we did see how late game you're just like, okay, I have a refresher and you don't.
In the previous game, they, what was it, like 3rd or 4th picked Enigma?
Yeah.
And it gave them, gave Newbee way less options to kind of counter the Enigma, which is, I think is worrisome for OG, taking Enigma first 2 and allowing Newbee to really just kind of set up for him.
Yeah, as the game ended, I thought for sure they're going to ban Enigma second phase, but
Might have Lifestealer right here for Newbee again.
Yeah,
do you want to do it against an Enigma, though? Seemed like it had some trouble. It was kind of good, but it also had issues.
It had a little bit of trouble, but I think that they're going to be better prepared for the Black Hole this game, and Lifestealer was still putting in quite a lot of work. Even like that wasn't against a Naga too. Naga's a tough matchup for Lifestealer.
yeah. That's why EG were just like first picking it in that day 2 group stage.
Yeah, a lot of teams have first pick in Lifestealer. It's one of the few carries that you can get away with it, I think.
No, they take the Ursa instead.
I like that better. It's a lot more effective at killing Alchemists. Like, Lifestealer's good, but once you have Manta style, you just jump out of open wounds and he has chase problems. So Ursa can just actually kill within about 2 or 3 seconds tops.
Could be a potential mid matchup as well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
I actually played against that.
gives you
in
a
a pub
laning
the other
phase
day.
threat.
It was
I saw.
not a fun time.
Yeah, you
I
looked
was like,
very
oh,
unhappy.
level 2 out. Go jungle. Time to jungle, guys.
Oh, I'd like that a lot. The mid Ursa, and then
Yeah.
put something like harder carry in the safe lane, perhaps Morphling.
I like the Morphling and some other hero.
Most likely going to see Fly's hero right here.
Visage.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what he really likes against Ursa.
Actually, kind of like it against Centaur.
Up against,
It
yeah,
looks
he's up
decent.
against Centaur as well. Might be helpful to have a little bit more lockdown.
Going back for the
I
Visage.
didn't do that on purpose,
Confident.
but there it is. Yeah.
It's a safe pick. They seem to love the hero.
Yep.
They'll have lots more minus armor too with Alchemist, so yeah, it's kind of cool. I just feel like the coolest thing about Visage as a hero concept is that if somebody jumps on you and you're a support, okay, they can silence you, they can hex you, but you always have defensive measures with your birds. That's a really nice thing about the hero. So
You can peel for yourself.
it's kind of defensive in that way. It's self-sufficient.
For sure. Also a nice Roshan scouter
Yeah,
for this
exactly.
Ursa.
That's stuff that OG all likes.
I think like most of the Chinese teams, whenever they've been dealing with alchemists, they usually don't like putting pressure on themselves to end the game early and instead just try and outscale. But I feel like the Ursa says that like,
I mean,
we
Newbee has a
actually
ton of
are
options.
going to try and
I think for OG,
like, deal with the
my one
Alchemist
concern for them
early,
right
and
now
we're
is I
going
think
to,
they have a lot of potential to be
actually
rushed down in these team fights.
get a 4 position.
Morphling.
Yeah.
See, there.
I mean, I don't think there was any other carry that could
Yeah,
actually
and it's
breathe
really
like that.
smart of them to 4th pick it because it's a very possible ban. They're probably like Jarex is laughing because they probably predicted it and they were like, okay, we'll 5th ban Morphling, but Newbee, Faith, TI champion, too smart.
So last 2 bans here. Newbee looking for support. OG is going to be looking for their carry.
So Peter, if you're Newbee, do you want a 4 position that kind of roams and puts a lot of pressure on Alchemist early, or do you feel like with the Morphling pickup, you can try and play a little bit more of a scaling game and pick up 4 position that scales later.
I think you want to scale later. I think
so
Ursa
too.
is going to lay some hands on Alchemist in the mid lane. So Alchemist is going to have to retreat to the jungle very, very early.
You've already got your early game covered between Centaur, Ursa, and Rubik. So what are the best 4 positions that really scale for this game?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for it. There's too many.
Yeah, they need
too
more
many
lockdown.
options.
So
Yeah, some
probably
more
something
lockdown would be-
Romish that has lockdown.
Yeah, I mean, Newbee has a ton of options. I think for OG, my one concern for them right now is I think that they have a lot of potential to be rushed down in these team fights. Like if Newbee comes in initiating very, very quickly, their only kind of peel is at Enigma Black Hole, and he might be really forced and rushed to do it, which is going to make stealing Black Hole incredibly easy for Rubik.
Ooh.
Underrated
Unexpected
hero.
IO pick.
Okay.
Alchemist is going to have some real problems in the mid lane now.
Yeah. Don't know if Monkey King can offset that one.
Oh, yeah, Whisper for Monkey King. I was asking for that in the group stage.
Yep. It was touted as a possible counter.
Hey,
and,
listen.
It's now in. We've got an
Safe
OG
lane out,
as a
okay.
last pick as well for OG. So, very quickly, gents,
Oh.
which way do you like this one, Purge?
I got to go with OG. I think their team fight's pretty good. They can save allies. I like it.
Okay. Cap.
I don't think Newbee will make the same mistakes twice. This time around, they've got the early game lineup that should be able to rush OG. I don't think they'll make the same mistakes they did in game 1.
Rush down from Newbee.
Yeah.
I think they're going to take it. We're going to have a game 3.
All right. Okay. Opinions abound. Obviously, first game was black hole laden. Are we headed for a same second game? Let's find out as we head back to our commentary team of Melini and Toby One.
Well, I do hope, Red, we get to a game 3, mainly because I want to watch these guys play more Dota. Game number 1 was absolutely brilliant, a perfect start to the playoffs for DAC. Game number 2 comes around, and the panel was actually along the same line of thoughts as you, Ben. It's a Newbee early push kind of style to keep OG down.
They have a problem, though, trying to find the Alchemist, because now they're doing Alchemist safe lane, or Noto will be playing the Alchemist. So how do you actually contest the safe lane? Normally, you deal with Alchemist by pressuring him in lane. Ursa versus Alchemist is a very Ursa-favored matchup. Like, it's great for Ursa, but I don't know if they're going to put Ursa in the off lane. Possibly.
It would seem like one of those risks, but it wouldn't be something unusual to Newbee. Newbee, no strangers to running an aggressive off lane and leaving KP up in the safe lane, but then how does that make all the other matchups work up? And is that really what you want to do, like, with your heroes? Like, are you still going to hit that timing where you can attack directly into OG?
That's what they wanted to do. I think it's going to be similar to last game in that they want to invade the jungle very early on. And I think this game they actually drafted way better against the black hole because they have multiple ways to actually prevent the people from dying in case they do get black hole. They have relocate out, which is great. Rubik no field is not great, but he can steal the black hole, and Centaur Act is also pretty decent. So multiple ways. And also, if you go full Agi on Morph, you'll take like 5 damage from Midnight Pulse. Sick.
That's the way to dodge it.
counter.
Yep. Obviously, the most strongest late game counter in the game now, Morphling against the Enigma.
And then on the flip side, you have potentially, what, like 3 Midnight Pulses at once? With you cast Midnight Pulse, you
have the one
cast Black Hole, and then you refresh, and you
Refresh,
Midnight Pulse again, and then you Black Hole. Oh my god, there's 3 Midnight Pulses.
You're actually commenting on it during game number 1, the fact that S4 somehow managed to get like 2 Midnight Pulses almost perfectly on top of each other, so you didn't realize you actually had 2 inside that Radiant jungle fight.
Yeah, the cast animation is like, it's very like non-descriptive. It's just, he just like, does a little wave of his hands. Oh, I'm just going to do this thing that kills all your HP. And it's very good versus the strength-based Centaur. Not so great versus other heroes, though. But it's life-based damage, so it scales.
All right, so Newbee are currently being watched by the Red Paw Courier, which may just happen to be a hero and not just being a Courier snipe, but KP will take the rune.
The joys of being 350 move speed courier. Every Monkey King's dream.
Surprisingly, they don't actually do anything to really contest the Centaur. No-Tail didn't go up for the bounty rune. He just sits on bottom lane, try to body block it up, and actually ended up missing the melee creep. So Red Paw, most powerful courier in the game, as we can see right now.
It would be super easy for them to contest. They didn't actually know the lane, so like a Wisp Ursa can easily chase down an Ursa at level 1. So they don't want that to happen, and it's worth sacrificing the bounty rune for that. So they will aggro, but not with the Ursa. Ursa will be one-on-one versus the Enigma up top, and they currently have the Rubik and the Wisp down here to contest Fly and company.
And that's some really good warning down from Newbee too. So the sentry would have blocked the camp. Their observer ward they did under the cover of smoke. Ooh. So even though OG had their own observer ward there, they don't actually know that Newbee got their own down.
One of the things I like most about No-Tail is he's not greedy. A lot of carry players are greedy, they go Midas whenever they can. This dude gets as a spray at level 1 because he knows he's getting contested. How great is that?
You got to zone him out.
You got to win the lane. If you don't win the lane, you're just going to be stuck trying to catch up all game. And he's trying his best to actually win the lane. So not skilling up bounty at level 1, sometimes completely necessary when you expect this from the draft from Newbee.
So who do you actually like? Like Newbee are running this IO as well as Rubik. Now Rubik has been renowned for not having as much effect unless it's with like a Juggernaut spin kind of combination. So his telekinesis doesn't do as much until he hits a higher level. So you get that that level 2 Fade Bolt to do some work. How does that really match up against a hero like a Monkey King, for example, who's meant to just be bouncing around all the time? Fly, who also needs to have his earlier levels.
Well, I don't think Monkey King is that great on try and try because you can't. You're great again in like 2-on-1 situations because you can just do 1-on-1 versus all Offlaner and Jingu Mastery just crushes that. But you can't actually right click that often here. His armor's really, really low. He's going to be trading a lot of right clicks versus these heroes, and then you have to worry about the lift into stomp. So Rubik doesn't do that much damage on his own, but when you pair it with Hoof Stomp and Double Edge, things can get real rough real fast.
And this top lane matchup should be easy enough for the Ursa, even though obviously Enigma's going to be taking a lot of experience off the lane.
Yeah, that's no fun.
Yeah.
Getting your range creep denied.
But you can't even like zone him out. Like you want to run at him with phase boots, you go for a quick clap. It's not going to do much because then the Enigma goes down, triggers Shrine, then farms up over all the tree lines.
I don't think that was
intentional.
Actually, he got a self. He kept the self going. Actually, that was definitely intentional. Yeah. For some reason, I thought he was trying to set up with the Monkey King, but what are you going to do with level 1 Monkey King? Nothing.
And it's not had the easiest time to start with. He was actually trying to last hit underneath his tower, and the only levels that was almost impossible for him. So we actually watched him miss like 2 or 3 last hits into a tower before.
Yeah, he's doing very well on lane. Normally you'll see Wisp paired with Morphling in the mid lane because they wanted the Wisp in the off lane. That's going to make the mid lane way weaker. But Morphling 1-on-1 is not the best.
Oh, bottom lane. There's your first blood. It's Fly, who'll be brought down by Newbee. Hoof stomped and controlled.
Man, the lights in the arena are going crazy. First blood for Newbee, everything's shining blue.
China number 1! That's what it's all about.
That was cool. Maybe they're gonna like do it on streams. He's like blue flag. I want to kind of check out the Chinese stream because of that.
It's just the crowd, man. It's the crowd. All right, so
Ursa still has really good CS, 17 and 11.
Yep.
And Fly is just like, I'm going to get more XP in the jungle, but you're letting the Ursa get off to a really good start.
It's the trade-off, though, right? Like, it's the fact the Alchemist is going to get some farm down the bottom lane. So his money is going to start to roll in. Yeah, you've still got KP getting some good levels, but it's the trade-off. So both off-laners are getting really what they want. Jirax now going to jump in. They do have that slow on the KP. KP needs to try and hoof stop and create a little bit more space, but it just won't work. Soul Assumption from Fly. The damage is just too much, and Jirax looking to beat through Faith a little bit harder. Can't get the full stacks up, and they will get the kill on the off-lane. So off-lane's getting everything they want, apart from the death on KP.
Pretty greedy play from Faith. You try to lift the Visage so he didn't cast Soul Assumption, but he was already dead by that. Like, it was almost already connected on Centaur by the time he lifted. Maybe lifting the melee and stunning one of them would have maybe saved Centaur. He could have at least fogged on the right side.
There's that IO combination you're talking about, just slipping into mid.
Yeah, it's not a lane that Morphling should win on his own at all. So they definitely need the backup from him. So Morphling doesn't have to invest as much in regeneration and can CS. He's actually beating the OD in CS.
Oh, here we go again. Pick up, throw back down, Hoof Stomp, Double Edge. Is there enough damage? The Alchemist still fighting under his own acid spray, but there's not damage from KP. Faith will lose his life. Even if he didn't die to Fly, then Jirax was pouncing in through the rear, and it's KP who is now on the run. Needs to get back to the Shrine, which will be able to do so. And the Tranquil Boots can do the heal unless he wants to be a little bit quicker and just try and trigger.
They're still losing a lot despite killing. Oh, this is
real trouble for him. S4's going to fall down. Ayo, great rotation, and you don't see it on the ball. Actually, you do. He has this blue cloud around him, but the convergence almost killing him off. He's getting back to the tower, but Kaka, he'll tether back down again. He knows he's okay, and they'll get the extra farm.
Did he get the bottle refill on top? Yeah, looks like it.
Yeah, he did.
That's tough. That's another life for them. Ooh, immediate smoke afterwards. So it looks like similar build coming up from Enigma with the Arcane early. I wonder if he goes for Greaves this game. Probably not. I don't really see anything that Greaves off. And I don't think they're going to be 5-manning that much because of the Alchemist.
He'll probably only do it if he had to like be more efficient on his item slots. Because he still needs to be the mech carrier, right? Like, unless Fly's going to do that work. Waveform, middle lane, Hannah. It's a 3-on-1 at the moment. There's no real support. Courier was coming in with something, but it's already too late.
That bottle revival actually like made a big deal there because you don't expect the Wisp to be topped off. And Wisp isn't going to tether in with like 200 HP. He would just die. So that was a big play by the Rubik coming in there. And they will secure themselves a 6 minutes rune. They are going double bottle too. I see some core players and Wisp players that like are really against the double bottle in the mid lane if you have a Wisp. But I think on Morphling it makes a lot of sense because when you're like Agi morphing in base, it just takes you forever to heal up. That's such a nuisance when you play Morphling, is just healing up in base after his strength morphing down.
So he doesn't care about his life when he goes to waveforms like that, just posturing against Ana. With the full tri-lanes back on bottom lane for Newbee again, and this is when Monkey King is actually left in the lane, so Alchemist just abandoned and gone into the jungle, and it's Monkey King who's trying to hide in the tree lines to the right of the safe lane. Leech some experience. He really wants to find the farm, however, so he can at least finish up some phase boots, but Newbee understand there's only one hero down there as just a support hero, and the perfect Radiant scan. Faith and Karka are moving over. It's a little bit earlier than the 8-minute rune, but this is forcing a rotation to come in, and as Jirax, ETP's off the bottom lane, jumps further down. Remember, there's still no bounty rune to fight over the top of, but with Fly rotating in, they can potentially pick up one of these supports. They turn their attention towards Karka with the stun and the soul assumption. Karka will be punished.
Maybe too predictable by Newbee, doing exactly the same move that they did last game. Smoke into the jungle, place ward, and then try and get a gank during nighttime.
Their advantage is the ward circle, which went down from OGs in the wrong spot. Their thinking is over on the cliff side, but it's actually watching the bounty rune, so their sentry ward's going to be misplaced. Well, here they go again. Waveform forward, no-tail picked up, wants to go on the run, the tether out as well. They have enough damage. It's SC who will take the kill. Sentry ward was placed just a little bit too late, so they understand the observer ward is there, but the damage is done. The Alchemist is down.
And they'll have Stampede pretty soon too, so they can keep up the pressure on the Alchemist. Morphling doing very well in terms of CS, still above the OD. Ursa, wonder when he's going to start making moves.
Make a break for the trees, Jirax. KP's trying to cut his way through. If he can Quelling Blade down the tree, he'll do it. But the Wisp Spirit Balls trying to reveal, having to go deeper, just bouncy, bouncy.
You know, I was looking at Dota Buff, and I think Wisp has one of the highest win rates versus Monkey King. And I think a lot of it is because of the tree breaking and the flying vision that he reveals. Oh, not really flying vision, but vision that he reveals with the balls if he hits the hero.
Yep.
But, I mean, if you had a theory crap monkey counters, you would pretty much never think of Wisp.
Well, the first ones which were coming up was like, was Beastmaster, like you get the Flying Hawk, you get like Unobstructed Vision from Night Stalker or Coddle, like
Yeah,
Coddle was probably one of the more common pickups we saw against him during the group stage.
Coddle, Night Stalker, Batrider, Timber, those are the ones that normally people think of to kill the trees, but Wisp is just not one that really really comes to mind.
But Wisp come to anyone's mind during this tournament. I don't know if like how many times he's been picked in this tournament, but I think this is one of the first ones I've seen.
I like the Wisp pickup here a lot though, because it allows them to keep pressuring the Alchemist without having to back off. Like you want to be able to keep a constant pressure, get a kill, you know, whatever, heal up, and then keep going again. It's also pretty good at dealing with acid spray too when you're trying to siege towers. Sustains a very big issue when you're getting whittled down constantly by acid spray. And
they're coming for another kill. It's going to be Jirax, pick him up with the telekinesis. Faith dragging him back in. Jirax is a 3-man stun. Fairy Fire will not allow him to survive, however. The Ancients are making life a little bit more difficult to get out of here. Karka has tethered back off cooldown, but he's not a healthy chappy.
These wards are all up in OG's jungle. Look at this. One on the shrine on the left side, one checking out the camp on the left, and then one on the shrine on the right. So they have very good coverage of what they are trying to do. OG.
Yeah. Thanks to that observer ward, they saw Jirax jumping towards Roshan. So Newbee will back out just quickly.
Their Roche contest is actually really poor. They don't have Midnight Pulse skilled yet on the Enigma, so they don't actually have enough damage to potentially deal with Roche.
Yes, that's straight up stun, the 4-4-0-1.
4-4-0 is pretty interesting.
You expect
Maybe-
at 1 point, right?
Usually, just to break trees. But maybe he doesn't want to break trees because of
Yeah.
the Monkey King.
Yeah, he actually works against his own team if he does that.
So they find an Observer Ward, so that's pretty good for them. They need to be able to flush Newbee out of their jungle. Because he just doesn't want... Okay, yeah, there he goes.
Yeah, and the ward further to the north actually timed out. So their only remaining aggressive ward here, Newbee, is the one that's down the shrine. That doesn't help them when they're trying to go for Roshan.
Let's U9's build. So Vlad's Rush. Okay.
Well, if you are going to try and run at OG and try and keep the pressure down, Vladimir Zoro is definitely going to help you with that.
Sometimes Blink, however, because the Centaur was in a try-on-try, so a lot of his XP and farm is going to be taken up. But it looks like he's actually still going to Blink at a very good timing. 12 minutes if he doesn't die.
And at the
That's
moment,
insanely
OG
good.
is too busy looking towards Roshan, so KP's got a lot of space on the top lane.
Yep.
Even Rubik is able to farm, and like he's halfway down through the bottom lane, farming that.
How's our Alks items? I know he was going for Armlet earlier, but I assume he's going to go for Radiance after... Yes,
Yeah,
looks
he's
like
got his
standard.
quick buy. Nothing unusual for No-Tail. The only thing unusual is just the lane switch up. Anna's a little bit behind, which isn't too terrific, but he's only 600 behind the Morphling.
There's Midas.
So
He
it's-
can also
it's
get
still
pulled
catch
in
up.
eggs.
He can also be pulled in ag. No, he cannot. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that to an OD.
Set it up for a black hole. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually one of the very rare situations where an Ags on an OD is something you do want.
It's not the worst thing in the world.
It just seems so odd with like delaying the game with the imprisonments.
Think of the stats, Toby.
Think of the
10
stats.
intelligence.
Think of the hero you want to try and focus down. Don't give them time to get abilities back off cooldown.
Oh, man, Black Hole and Monkey King ult. That's pretty nasty.
That's when you wait for Rubik. Oh, hello, relocate down the bottom lane. Goodbye, Jirax. Leon was already doing the work. Kaka got it nice and early.
The Wispas are actually pretty good at preventing him from jumping the trees, too.
Really good maneuvering. Top lane, Kaka returns up here. The Observe Ward's down, and Otal adds a spray. Would love to get this kill if he can. Soul Assumption from Fly. It still doesn't do the work. End up surviving to the hull stomp from KP. He reveals the Blink Dagger.
Whole team's here.
Yep, pretty much.
Rubik's 6 now, so they have to be very careful. about the
Morphling's
Black Hole.
rotating up. Monkey King's trying to get here. He TP'd over towards the shrines. It's going to be our first big 5-on-5 engagement. Stampede is not available at the moment for Newbee, so they can be careful about that. But when you kill off one of the familiars, that's a good start. Fire will be forced to resummon already. Monkey King ready to jump in through the rear. S4, they're going to actually defensively imprison him at the moment, unless that actually belongs to Faith. They pick him up. They're tossing him around like a ragdoll. Monkey King tries to create a little bit of space. S4, the black hole is stolen by the Rubik. He doesn't survive long enough to use it, however, as U9, who's left on the front lines, trying to just man mode this up. And he won't be able to. The imprisonment keeps him out of the fight. And OG do not want any part of this. There's farm on bottom lane, there's farm on mid lane. There's no reason to keep this battle going.
Very risky Black Hole by S4. He was on a sliver of health. I really like Jarek's positioning that fight. He was like off to the southeast. They were trying to approach slowly the other trees. It looked like they were hitting the familiars, but they were really looking for the Monkey King that fight. But they couldn't find him, and then he was able to get his ult off. He just died immediately after to Ursa.
SC again posturing against Anna.
So it might be Roche time now. Black Hole's down. Wukong's command is down. They should be pretty happy about this.
Oh, if you can get both the familiars as well, it's even bigger.
They are so good at killing those familiars.
There's no resummon, and you have to ping out the fact the Observer was there. It's already de-warded, so Newbee a little bit dark. They don't understand exactly where that Observer ward is from OG. It's just north of the pit, is seeing a fair amount, but Jirax can't get close enough to the pit to really contest it without just throwing his own life away. So they have to let it go. And Newbee, just shy of the 15-minute mark, will claim the first Roshan.
Very hard for OG to stop the Roche, though. Like, what are you going to do? Not use Black Hole? And then Newbee just split pushes and farms and takes fights outside. But as soon as you use Black Hole, they just go inside a Roche. So kind of lose-lose for OG there. But they do have the Alchemist. That is the crux of their strategy.
Yep, and he's rapidly approaching that Radiance. You do have the next aggressive item also appeared on the Ursa, so his Blink Dagger is now up and running. Combining up with the Vlads and the Aegis, it's very easy for Newbee to go full-on aggressive now.
I don't think they're going to be able to shut down the Radiance timing, though. I don't really think they cared that much about the Radiance because of the Morphling pick, too. You can always just ult it.
It turns against the Alchemist.
The OD is actually really good at dealing with it, though. I think OD is one of the best heroes at dealing with Morphling illusions. Doesn't have a built-in Hex, but he's one of the best cores to do so.
Just because of his orb?
Yeah, the orb 2-3 shots it. The Alk thing doesn't have that much HP either. It just has a lot of regen, so it's really susceptible to burst.
Rotation in from behind on the top lane as Monkey King pounce up. KP, well, they kind of knew Jirax was there, as Jirax will pounce in a little bit deeper, but the tier 1 tower is already gone. The conversions for S4 were doing the work. So the tier 1 tower is lost.
Lincoln's first on the Rubik, so he wants to, or sorry, on the Enigma to deal with the Rubik.
It's probably the only way to stop him from stealing your black hole. Is there anything else that can really trigger it, though, actually?
Adaptive Strike.
Okay. But the Morphling is probably not going to be sitting there going, I have to Adaptive Strike the Enigma.
That's good. To bop his Lincolns to stop a black hole. That's the thing about the Rubik, though, is he can also just Fate Bolt it.
Jirax preparing to pounce the stun and the ultimate. Kaka is not a healthy man. U9 will be able to run out of range of it, however. But it keeps him away from the tier 1 tower, and you expend an MK ulti.
The way the soldiers spawned, or Kingsguard, whatever you want to call it, Toby, they actually just cleared an easy path for the Wisp to walk out. Usually you're really hard pressed to find a way to walk out without getting slammed by those.
I love that you remember my terminology from the group stage. The Kingsguard. There goes the tier 1 tower. U9 able to claim that. So more and more map control being opened up for Newbee as they basically make OG's jungle a lot more difficult to move into.
Something they weren't able to do last game, Newbee, is...
SC saw that. SC most definitely saw that.
He has no way to cut down trees, though, unless he's tether.
Oh, that's why Io's on the way up. He'll tether forward, but already he's a slippery little monkey. Thanks, Jack.
Might be time to get a quelling on Morph. I think he has slots. He didn't go for Blight Stone, did he?
It's not the craziest idea.
It's definitely not. No. He doesn't have the Blight.
He's still trying to finish up his own Lincoln Sphere. So Monkey King ready to fight up on the top. You don't have his ultimate available, however, so Kingsguard currently off for Coco as SC stunned up under the tower, but Replicant will end up saving him. And Monkey King actually got dropped by, I think he actually got dropped by S4. He midnight pulsed the trees and Monkey King hit the ground. So he clipped him on the side. Meanwhile, Anna gets ripped apart by 3 heroes in the mid. Stampede to get him in range, and now 40 seconds without the OD.
That was a really good Replicate out, though. It looked like it was right about to black hole him. It could have been a whiff, too. But he's slippery, that one.
Ease him off.
How's our Wisp doing in terms of items? His net worth surprisingly high. 4,300 is pretty good.
Yeah. Well, he's been involved in everything. His owners have been able to actually pick up some of the kills as well.
So looks like Newbee aren't able to get that much accomplished in between the ultis of OG. Something that they want to prevent is fighting into Enigma with as many items as last game.
Concoction will fly. Obviously, KP can't dodge it, but he can at least get back into a safer location.
Jirax can't find a good place to stand in the fights. He's always a little bit scared.
Well, he keeps getting caught out. Okay, now that helps him when he sees KP. And KP doesn't have any idea exactly where the Monkey King is, but he can probably assume that Jirax is in the tree somewhere around there. But Jirax is having to keep his little bit more of a distance, so more than likely, just put down the circle on top of the tower, make it difficult for Newbee to try and fight this one, but U9 is ripping apart the tower, and the Alchemist also got copied. They need to bring in OD, they need to bring in Enigma, but it's all too late. OG are not in position to fight this, so Newbee will get the free tier 2.
Something I really like that Sumail did was turn off his Radiance whenever he thinks he's about to get replicated. He didn't that time. I was watching his toggle, but I think it's very important that you don't give him the Radiance buff on the illusion.
Jirax with a stun. There is no real follow-up here, but at least he baits out the Stampede.
Radiance.
Ed Burns. Ed Burns. And it's not even belonging to you.
So net worth lead. I don't even think that Radiant are in a net worth lead, which is never good if you have an Alk. 3,000.
They're going to try and change it around. The smoke maneuver up, but what have they got which really makes this fight more possible? Like,
dragging out the game isn't that bad, though, because they're versus Ursa. Ursa,
they have vision.
Peters off a little bit.
That's actually a really good observer ward up near the tier 2 tower. So it knows that Faith is alone, and it'll also be able to work out the fact that Morphling is up there. The Replicate just would have timed out because he took it for the Aegis, for for the Alchemist. So they want to try and bring him down. Fresh Observe Board out in place. Fate instantly popped. SC, they know he's got no massive escape, so he has a strength more. Lincoln Sphere got delivered. That might buy a little bit of space, but then the black hole from S4. He'll come back out of the imprisonment eventually into the control, or maybe not. The Monkey King ulti is down. SC trying to run the gauntlet of the Kingsguard. Not possible. Fly will fall as well, and the Ursa wants to fight, but Anna will deny him with the imprisonment. Fate will keep Anna around just to think about this a little bit longer, and now imprisonment, okay, Familiars. Stomp down twice, create more space. Anna's getting stronger as he steals more and more intelligence, but KP holds him in place with a great hook stop. No Tao can't do anything anymore. You can try and toggle your way through this, but it won't be enough. The concoction will fly out. And what have you got? A Familiar on the back line? Is a defensive imprisonment. The Familiar can't even hit the ground, and Faith will survive on 58p in front of his tier 2 tower.
That was such a tough call to buy back for Rubik. He was at 1900 gold before. He died, and then he's like, oh man, if I die and this fight goes poorly, I'm never going to get my blink. But he buys back. He steals a pretty important spell in Insanity's Eclipse, and another misfire by OG in the team fight. Oh, looks like KP is in a little bit of trouble here.
Yeah, until U9's going to arrive now as Jirax is in trouble. He's got 3-1 charges, tries to dodge him by becoming Bark.
That Astral during the black hole, though, that just made them take way too long to kill the Morphling.
Yep. That definitely didn't seem like the perfect lacquer of abilities.
They had the Ghost Scepter on him, though. I was actually surprised he was able to get that out to him so fast.
They're going to jump again on U9. Anna now with a 4-star forward goes to the imprisonment, allowing Fly to get Familiars into position, and they nicely hold the Ursa in position. The Enrage will only delay the damage. Now he'll break free of it. 24 intelligence stolen. That is one dumb bear. 300 mana pool to work with, and Anna, one more orb will do the work. And that's a big one for him to take. Over 500 gold for that one kill. Now on bottom lane, S4 is on the run. The Stampede trying to reduce the distance, so S4 will turn. A quick Midnight Pulse will hold him there, buying time for Jirax to arrive. S4 will play the tree lines. Lincoln Sphere gets a trigger as well. He doesn't have enough life to survive this, but he makes Newbee work for it.
I love that play by S4. He's like, I'm going to black hole you. And then he didn't even have it up. But they got scared. They were like, it's just a natural reaction when Enigma turns around like that. You're like, oh God, he's going to black hole me.
Yeah, do we remember the timing? Let me check my clock.
It was still a minute up, but he feigned it. I like that. That was good.
Oh, fantastic play from the boys, and you see Alchemist is #1 on net worth once again. The Enigma is also starting to skyrocket. Same with that kill for the OD. They're getting back to contesting the top 3 net worths, which, same in Game 1, Newbee were always sitting that little bit further ahead. Obviously, Game 1 was a different story because the split push battle that came from OG was a lot stronger. But you do still have elements of that coming in from the Alchemist.
So Ursa was able to buy his Dezo before he died, so no gold loss for him. And Roche wasn't up. I think OG has to be able to stop the Roches. Ursa has a lot of trouble scaling if he doesn't get the Aegis. If he gets the Aegis, you know, he has a lot more wiggle room. He doesn't have to buy BKB and defensive items and whatnot. He can kill a lot more people. But once you force him to actually build defensive items and not get kited, he's in a lot more trouble.
Well, as we can see, thanks to the awesome PGL little symbol, as well as the pop-up that came up, Roshan is now only about 45 seconds away from spawning.
And a DD. That's fun. So what ways do they have the
DD will wear out before it, though. It's just going to wear out by the time Roshan spawns.
I don't think that OG are going to know Roshan spawns, though. That's a big problem. Monkey King can't get close to the pit because they've been scouting for him constantly, and the Familiars constantly die. They don't have mana to get on the Alchemist, so no illusion, free scouting for him.
And all their Observer Wards are in the lanes. Like you actually look at the lanes on both of the safe lanes in the middle. That's what you find the Radiant Ops.
It looks like they're grouping up for a smoke, though.
Yeah, I think they understand they have to move in themselves. But they can't take Roshan, right? Like, you're not going to steal it.
They have to just catch him at the right time. Oh, with the BOTs out, actually, was that scouted by the Observer Ward? I'm not actually sure. If they see that, they might just like, well, they don't have Alchemist.
Didn't
might as well fight.
He BT'd onto the lane.
I know. He BOT'd in the lane from mid, and looks like
they're pushing. They're going to take the tier 2.
Oh, they have the Eidolon scouting the Roach pit. That's another way. That'll work.
But they're still losing their positioning. Like, yeah, you got the Shrine to go to, but you've just lost your tier 1. Your tier 2 town's going to fall as well. The pressure being applied on bottom lane is probably going to end up with a tier 1 being the trade-off. And Newbee, I was actually interested to see like what they would do if they just go directly into Roshan. There's one TP that goes back to mid lane, and that was the Morphling. And yeah, Ursa, he's going in.
Who cares about that T1?
Yeah, you really don't.
And they have the EB up on Morphling. So you mentioned like the Lincoln's being popped on the Enigma. That's a lot of damage coming out. He's gonna be fat. They're actually making a play without the Morphling. Morphling hasted on his own. Is he gonna be able to get a solo kill?
If you can only see the Monkey King. I'm wondering if Jirax is going to consider just pouncing down to get the last hit in the tower. No, he won't. He'll let it go. It's a decent amount of money that gets denied up by SC. On top of that, now they get the bonuses from Roshan. Newbee, you're in a really good position to fight.
Yeah, they can easily tank Black Hole too with the Aegis, or relocate out, or just Morphling strength morphing. There's a lot of ways for them to deal with it.
Rubik stealing it if they can trigger it. Yeah, there's a lot of options for Newbee in this draft against OG.
They have really good burst now for the Alchemist too. Like you want to be able to kill him just like, you know, in a couple of seconds. Even Ursa with the Desert can kill him now. The Morphling can also kill him very quickly.
Can you actually pop him quickly? Because those abilities don't seem to synergize too well. Like you E-Blade pop, you've then got what?
I think it's one or the other is fine. And then they can just like Stampede to slow him down and finish him off. They don't have a save for it. Actually, Astral's a pretty good save.
Yeah.
So he turns off his Radiance. That's nice. You actually want to turn it off for your Manta Illusions too sometimes, so he doesn't replicate your Manta Illusions. So this matchup's just not terribly great for the Alk.
Well, Monkey King was able to escape a small little battle there with the Rubik on the bottom lane, but it's the mid lane where the attention turns as U9 under the tower. Gonna get Malphite stunned up. More of annoying than anything else, especially when he gets Rod of Atos. Has to enrage early. The Imprisonment will hold him there and no-tell. Well, no extra stuns to arrive, but U9 losing life so quickly. Kaka has to actually trigger up Mech to get him out to safety, but this puts Faith in a very awkward spot. S4 as well as Fly catch him out. And then the relocate, bringing the IO so much closer back. Kaka will fall as well. This is meant to be Newbee's time to shine, but OG take the engagement by bringing down both the supports.
U9 is not the tower hitter. They need SCCC to hit the towers. Ursa is just devastatingly poor at hitting towers. You can only hit towers when pretty much a whole team's dead or you're split pushing. But like you have just
getting ready to fight again. Fly, 13 HP, he survived on. The extra stuns will be there from Jirax. If you want to trigger the ulti in this position as well, not easy enough. He got dropped down by the trees. Now your Black Hole will come out, holding the Centaur. The Oni will throw the ulti out as well. So Ursa, the accuracy model will trigger. SC looking to come back into this fight as possible. No! That Ursa is a goner. 1 minute on the sidelines, no buyback available for U9. And OG now taking back-to-back engagements.
So actually one of those games where you have to play it a little bit slower as Ursa. I think U9 just really wanted to fight with the Aegis, and he thought that hitting the tower mid would force him to come out, and it surely did, but it put his team in way too compromising of a position. Without the Wisp, it was just easy Black Hole for them. So yeah, then now they have multiple tools to kite. You can Atos him to force him to enrage, and then just Astral him immediately after. And great Black Hole by S4. There's just nothing really that Newbee can do at that point. At least they don't lose SCCC. Yep. So now Ursa's effectiveness in this game is going to be minimal from this point onwards, I think. Because he's just going to be kited constantly. And now they have to rely on the Morphling a lot more than they would like to.
Can't believe Fly was actually able to TP himself out of that. Like he found the smallest little tree to get out of.
It's hard to kill Visage. Shotgun doesn't do that much because of Gravekeepers.
When he's sitting on sub 50 HP though, and then you run in and you focus everything you've got to stop the engagement at the front line.
Their only way of getting good vision though is to Wisp. Wisp was dead at that point. His spirits are really good at getting vision, but I couldn't fight him.
Also OG working for them, the Alchemist up on top. Newbee not really finding that nice powerhouse they were looking for just yet. And we start asking ourselves the question, where's these critical items that come in from Newbee to help them gain control in these fights? Because No-Tellus is progressing pretty damn quickly. He's got the casual plate mail for now, but he's working his way in towards that Octarine.
I think they need BKB on Ursa. That's probably the best way for them to deal with the fights.
It was in his quick buy before.
He has to get BKB or else the OD will kite him nonstop. It's just too problematic playing against these items. The Atos and the Force Staff and the Astral. You can't get in rate. You can't get Astral during your rage. If you do that, you're just useless afterwards. You can't blink out. You don't have any defensive ability, and you're definitely not going to be hitting anyone because you're just going to die.
KP, silent, hugging the trees, and Monkey King pounced around him but didn't see him. If Durex jumps up now, we need to jump to the left side to actually see him. He's guessing. He's guessing KP is somewhere there, but he can't smell the Centaur in the trees.
They're trying to set up a relocate, but that's going to be a disaster because the Enigma was there with the black hole. So that's a no-go.
Oh, they'll TP to the towers instead. Okay.
He has a reserve ward behind though.
KP, does he? There's a lot coming up. So yeah, Observer was behind, but Newbee find the better angle to approach into. They go for the familiars. Both stuns will connect as SC also waveforms in on top of the Enigma conversions. Doesn't kill off any of them, but he finds the Monkey King, explodes him with a shotgun, and Faith looking to bring in the powers of the Monkey King. The Rubik, obviously the master of all abilities, but KP, the master of the double hook stomp, catching two on the back lines, but no one for Newbee can get closer. Now Moon9 jumps forward with that BKB, focusing No-Tail. He's a critical kill if he can bring him down for the moment. The grab from Faith will allow him to do so. So No-Tail will fall. Flyers on the run, the TP out. From OD, they'll be successful thanks to the space created by the familiars. Newbee will have to camp these up to bring him down. That's exactly what they want. There's no respawn for them as well.
What a great flank by Newbee. Being able to approach from like the east and the south at the same time just made it impossible for S4 to black hole. He had a great Midnight Pulse, but Ursa just enraged, turned on his BKB, and with those, you don't actually have a good way to deal with BKBs except for black hole. That's the only way they can actually fight into it unless they just want to run away, which is not going to be easy for them. Not a good fight to give up for OG.
Yep.
I don't actually know how they win the team fights though. Is it all on the black hole? I guess they can also just rely on the OD stealing a lot of intel.
Well, this definitely helps. Quick TP out as KP. The imprisonment will cancel that TP. And Anna will have to probably hit him one more time with an orb. Okay, 2 times. He tries to pipe. But that won't be enough to survive.
Pickoffs like this just lead to worse and worse things because OD has plus 24 int from this fight. What, like 200 damage on everyone in the Sanities?
Yep. And each time like OD gets closer and closer towards level 25, he may take the ability to hold on to that intel even longer.
Roshan gonna respawn soon. It's only been
judging by our time, and we're
past.
still looking at a good another 2, maybe 3 minutes before he's up.
Black Hole's still not used yet. Now Alchemist has most of the items that he needs. They need to be able to find the Wisp in the team fight. And Illusions and the Familiars are going to be doing an important job of scouting. Who's Ursa's main target, though? Ursa?
Well, he in the last fight. It was definitely Alchemist he wanted. And he committed everything to bring him down. But maybe it is worthwhile switching your targets towards the OD. Because how much? But then again, who's doing more work? You got to fear the OD going into the later part of the fight if you're not focusing him at the start, because his intel's going to increase and increase.
They have to kite the BKBs on OG. I think that's the most important thing. If they can kite both BKBs, the Morphling and the Ursa, they can actually turn around and win the fight. But if they don't, then they're going to lose 1 or 2 cores during that fight. Or the Enigma, or actually, yeah, he's the core, and
so you're happy to let the start of the fight go because OD can't steal the intel from the cores.
Well, if you can get a big black hole, you start at the fight, but I don't think they're going to be able to do so. They're having a lot of trouble just getting a jump.
They saw the bucket kick. Faith slapped him down. We'll just drag him back up again. So Durex, he was exploded before the last fight began. And now he'll go down for 43 seconds, and this is when Roshan's up in about a minute time.
Really good wardage, though, by Newbee. Like Monkey King, he's been dying a lot. He died in that top T2 fight immediately after he casted his ultimate. And Newbee is doing a fantastic job of just annihilating him at the start of the fight. They don't even have to commit that many spells to him too. Just like a EB, maybe a blink and a overpower from the Ursa. Nothing huge.
Well, he's not tanky. Like, it's the downside, right, of the Monkey King. If he can't survive, he can't keep his ulti down compared to other heroes like the Earth Spirit, which Newbee banned out in the first phase of this game.
Centaur's going for hard again over to Scepter. So Scepter really good, I would say, for multiple reasons. Not only damage reduction, you can actually run over the trees too.
Get out of there, Faith. You'll blink up.
Wow.
His Observer Ward saw him coming. He knew what was happening, but the stuns are coming in their way. Roshan's up in a couple of seconds' time. Stampede. It's not going to be enough for Faith, even with a 3-man stun.
Still a smoke pop for a Rubik kill.
Yeah,
and it looks
but
like Fly.
It lets him have Roshan while Rubik is down.
Fly is inside the pit.
Yep. Roshan just spawned up. Mass pings coming out from the Rubik. He knows. He knows this is going on. SC gonna jump himself down. Waveforms in. How much damage are you gonna do with the BKB? Maybe hell of a lot, but Jirax, it's a great ulti and the double stun, keeping the rest of Newbee out. Remember, they don't have Stampede for this fight, so they can't instantly correct the positioning here. And U9, he is 1v4 on the front lines. He killed off S4. He never got the black hole off. And U9 once more. The familiar drop down. He'll dodge them out, but now Anna, with all that intel stolen, 28 points of it, he wants to pump out the damage. The Eclipse is still available. He'll throw it down, but U9 is still up and standing. Maybe not much. For the cheese on No-Tell. Well, that's a nice little start thing for Rubik coming into this fight. Able to steal Chemical Rage. Fadebot to slow down the pressure. But the tier 3 tower still taking chip damage, and they're coming back. Mid lane was where there was a little bit more push being applied by the Morphling. That's enough to make OG retreat. So Newbee not forced into a heavy engagement. But U9 would love to have one. Jirax has to go for a quick stun, jumps over and towards the tree line. Stampede giving him the movement speed. Jirax TPing out, and Newbee can't work out where.
Life of an Ursa. You always want to fight. No one wants to fight you until like 40 minutes in, when you just get kited constantly.
That's another Stampede burn though. Another one. Like, it's going to take not that long for it to come off cooldown.
Okay, he didn't get hard, thank God. Definitely need a Scepter. Scepter is the only way to deal with Black Hole, and it's great at killing Monkey King. You run over trees, knock the trees down, kill him. Because he's always up in the cliff area and whatnot. And he needs to be able to protect the Morphling and the Ursa, because they're doing way more damage than he is. If you get Heart as a Centaur, you're just pretty much giving the OD more in. And he's happy to trade, like, return. His return is not terribly great here at all. I guess it kills the birds, but birds are probably the least of your concerns.
Tier 2 tower's going to now go down, so Newbee, they want to defend their base, but they're already doing the prep work. The bottom lane's pushing in quite nicely. The middle lane's being pressured by the IO, even though Visage Familiars are making that a little bit more difficult. At the Monkey King, a great Observer Ward sitting inside the base. They see Faith. Potentially, Jirax can just off with a very quick stun, but Faith triggers the Chemical Rage. Now, the Rubik's a little bit more difficult to kill off. And SC also returns to the fight.
They could set up with a big blink Black Hole, but if they slightly misstep, or if like Wisp is tethering and shrining up at the same time, people are just not going to die. And I think it's super risky to fight inside the base close to the shrines.
That Observer Ward got scattered out. As Monkey King pounced away, Newbee instantly pinged. So they understand that ward sitting on, at least I think they understand the ward sitting on the top side of the base. Either that or they just thought, hey, Monkey King was there.
I think they're just pinging out Monkey King so they can get some more split push pressure on the map.
All right. 25 gold for the Aghanims over on Centaur.
Ooh, Ag's up on Rubik. That's actually pretty good.
Ag's Rubik, Ag Centaur. A lot of negation now of the damage that OG will be looking to pump out at the very, very start.
Ag's Rubik is a big deal, so he can deal with the Lincoln's Enigma. He can just spell steal once to pop it and then spell steal twice through the BKB. So it's kind of important. Ag's on Centaur, already talked about that.
Now Enigma actually has 2 of them. He's got Refresh for Orb.
And he's also going to have Ag soon. I saw Alchemist was really close to finishing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, he has it right now.
Are you actually going to prioritize?
I think you give it to Enigma. Blink Black, from his point of view, Blink BKB Lincoln's Black Hole is unstoppable.
Unless they consider S4 is hovering around him.
Yeah.
Unless they consider the OD imprisonment as the setup for the
No
black hole.
way.
Hey, you mentioned it before, man.
It's like
You're flagging it.
I
There it
would
is. It's S4.
say you give it to Visage. No, I think Moonshard's even more priority than either Ags. I think you get Moonshard OD before any of those.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I guess the Immortal now is reclaimed, so they only have the cheese left now, OG, on No-Tail. And Newbee still have their base intact, so again, we're going to be approaching roughly the hour mark to try and complete this game.
Things could get hairy next Roshan, though. I think Newbie know they have to take it, whereas OG, they're pretty comfortable with the position that they're in right now.
Yeah, but having the Aghanim Scepter on KP makes this next fight really, really good for Newbee. Their sustain has become 10 times better. Obviously, they still need to kill the OD, or else OD is like, okay, well, you can sustain, but I'll continue to steal your intelligence.
I think Wisp actually needs to stay alive in the fight. He's the one that's going to be topping people off after standing these Eclipse, maybe relocating people out of Black Hole, and he is...
Well, that's not a great little confidence boost at this point.
A lot is on you, Kaka.
I got so much to do. Crap, I cliffed myself.
It's kind of similar to Fate's position in the last game.
Yeah.
He needs to do a lot, but with very few items and just a very squishy hero.
Man, there's so much pressure on both the supports. Like we talk about like just Fate getting picked off before Roshan happened previously. Stampede being used to try and save him. Like a moment like that sort of actually cost you all the advantages you needed going into Roshan. Not to mention being a man down. But the Morphling's getting bigger and bigger. A fresh Skadi has now arrived for him. Oh, jump up from G-Rex, careful. And S4 steals an Invis rune. There's a little bit more support. Concoction split up. Unai knew it. Blinked away quickly. They do not want to get caught out in these fights, but Newbee is still being very visible. Those two observer wards, okay, the one in the mid lane just timed out. They picked it out saying, oh, guys, we realized we were visible the entire time.
If they can't get closer to Roche Pit, they're going to lose the game. I think they have to be able to approach that area somehow. Smoke, gem, like any of these items to regain control of the area. I think having another Aegis on OD is potentially game losing.
Yep. Turak scribbled out the top lane. I think he wants that lane pushed all the way up towards the tower. Thanks to their observer ward, they'll understand who is still sitting up there from Newbee, and it could just be enough to keep Newbee away from Roshan.
So Smoke immediately pops, no tail. They know that one's real, but...
Oh, okay, yeah, S4 double damage. He can look sick while he blinks in. All right, there's your jump. Again, it's Faith, the sacrificial lamb. Do they want to stampede for this one? No, they do not. That Rubik is dead for a full minute, and they start creep skipping out. That's what SC does. Keep the creep waves away, keep OG running behind themselves and not pressuring out, and he knows he's safe. As long as you got the replicate, you're okay.
They have the Hex now on OD. That's a big problem. Very, very big problem. Because now, like, the BKBs can kind of be countered. They can just blow up the supports like that with very little counterplay, and Newbee are falling further and further behind in terms of items. What's Out getting next? Still a lot of gold.
And you can buy up that moonshot if you're looking for it.
Yeah, you can also get a like AC or something like that. Butterfly, I think Butterfly's really good too, because Ursa can't hit through that at all.
And he wants to build a Bastion, not a MKB. A little bit of trouble. E-Blade pop, the great saving, making it very difficult to attack into KP. The Astral Imprisonment will hold him inside the guard. And will it be enough with it? BT's forward. He'll turn on the Blade Mail, try and keep himself alive, but it just won't happen. KP will fall in a huge amount of time on the sideline. 80 seconds. There was no relocate save out. There was nothing like that. And OG, they could go in. No Stampede, no Centaur. Or they can take Roshan.
OD is
but he's not up yet.
So much here. I really liked how he saved the Astral for the Stampede too, knowing that was his only way out, despite SCCC's best efforts. So now they're stuck in this position. They can't even get close to Roche. Like, that's just not even a thing.
Yeah. They have to wait. They have to wait for OG to come to them and then get a better position. No-Tail is the only one who's a little bit exposed. Faith, well, he's only ever going to get really chemical rage from that Alchemist.
Blade Mail's a little surprising. It's not great versus Ursa because of his enrage. Yeah, he has it on Alk, and then a lot of the times, like, Morphlings will come with their shotgun with the waveform, so they're invulnerable during the waveform, so you're not doing that much damage. But it's still makes them reconsider how they want to approach the fights. Another way to force out an enrage out of the Ursa.
And Newbee really need to get some vision on the map. Like, their observer wards are so deep on the OG side, they're watching around the secret shop as well as just south of the Ancients. So they see when OG fall back, but right now OG are very happy to be aggressive. They've only got like another 10, 20 seconds before Roshan's going to spawn.
The thing is, they see them, but they can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
As the panel was mentioning, you have to win a team fight in order to win the game. And when you have Enigma, you generally have the better team fight unless you have some way to
The Rubik.
deal with it, like Rubik or just stronger team fight. You know, more big AoE ultimates. But they
The
have like
observer ward sees everything from OG.
they need a gem.
And they just put their own observer ward on top of the sentry ward that's already down. So Notel will reveal himself. Concoction will fly up. SC is going to get hit by that as well. So OG, they lost the vision. The ward was dewarded. As we just kind of wrap around into multiple areas, it's a little bit further up towards the tower. KP and Kaka trying to retreat. There's no tier 2 tower for them to be really protected on. But remember that Aghanim Stampede is available. Kaka, Trouble Concoctions on him. S4 blinks forward. He's looking for the black hole. If he can get it, 3 of them just on the tip. Throw out the damage and take the kills. SC's got no life to work with. He's having to strength bomb himself out. Another black hole. You can steal it and return it. That's what the Rubik's capable of doing. But the stuns will arrive and so will Anna, bringing in the damage that the OD dishes out. A buyback in from the Ursa, but it's desperation now from Newbee. They're down 2 heroes. They don't have the Stampede because Centaur cannot buy back. So Wukong it up, attack the tier 3 tower, take the racks as well. They potentially can push for more, but they don't want to push it too far unless they can do that! The explosion! OD was holding all of it. Unite will fall. That's really the game. You've lost everyone. There's no buyback really left available. It's all on the backs of the Morphling SC, but it will slip off his back, and GG is called. OG will take the series 2-0 on the back of the Ana Ultra kill.
And now you see a lot of the power of the Monkey King. That last fight was won, I think, almost solely by the placement of that observer ward. And they were able to catch a Centaur before he popped his Ags ult. And just generally way better team fight coming out from OG. They play super well around the Enigma and enabling both of their cores to shine. They control the Roach Pit very well too.
Yeah, that they did. Terrific play by OG. They get to take this series 2-0. They only dropped 1 game in their group stage as well, so the run for OG continues on. You can win some majors. Obviously, they still got their eyes set on TI, but they would love to have DAC under their belt. They go directly into the winners bracket final now because of that great performance in the group stage, and now taking out Newbee as well. There was the other question mark, like, were they really tested in their group stage? How will it work when the teams from Group B go up against Group A? It worked pretty damn well. OG, fantastic victory. 2-0 for them. And of course, Newbee, where did it all really go wrong, Ben?
I think when Ursa hit the T2 in mid and lost Aegis, they lost all the momentum from there. Ursa's a hero that you just cannot make many mistakes with. And that was a very big blunder by him. He put his team in a very compromising position. They lost all momentum. They lost Roshan.
this one. But I mean, Newbee did play fairly well the first 20 minutes or so. Kaka made a ton happen on the IO. Maybe not as many relocates as I would have liked. They didn't really ever feel in a position to go for those. But OG played it pretty darn well. I just think Newbee had the heroes they needed to deal with the Enigma, but OG was still the stronger team here.
I think Faith had a really bad showing this series. Totally. Like Warlock last game,
out of position.
Very out of position. This game, out of position all the time as well. Like he's getting picked off solo constantly. He stole a couple black holes and tried to make some things happen, but he really just didn't have any impact on the game. And I felt like he's the captain, so maybe he's kind of directing things and kind of charging direction. So he's oftentimes trying to push lanes. Like he wants teammates, I want you to go split push lanes so we have a better position for this team fight. So he goes out and pushes the lanes, and then he just dies. And there was one situation where he died, dead for like 50 seconds, and then Roshan was up.
Yep.
And Roshan's a huge part of the Ursa lineup, and they just gave it away.
It does feel like, Peter, would you agree with this, that it feels like the teams that the onus is on them to end the game, it feels like their window is a lot smaller in this patch and maybe 7.0 entirely. Just the combination of like minus death respawn, gold GPM talents, even shrines, I would say. It feels like the defending team is always kind of ready to fight.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree. And Ursa lineups have like the smallest window to win than any lineup. He falls off very, very hard. We saw a couple games where teams had a Magnus, and it kind of enabled Ursa to have more strength in the late game, and kind of gave him some nice setup during RP to like really do a ton of damage.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case this game. I just think they played it all wrong. I felt like they should have had Wisp and Morphling split pushing lanes constantly, and then kind of roaming around with the other three, setting up relocate ganks, and you could really put the pressure on OG so they actually couldn't 5-man.
I didn't even feel the threat of the E-Blade Dagon, or the E-Blade.
He killed Monkey King a couple times, but OG was just kind of 5-man balling up, and Newbee didn't really do anything. They just kind of sat together. I kept seeing like Wisp going to the Centaur, and Wisp was like tethered up with Rubik, farming creeps. Just a really strange approach to the Wisp.
Yeah, and the Wisp wasn't there when, like, if you with the Centaur, it needs to be when, like, the Centaur was split pushing the top lane, right? Like, that's a situation you get caught out. The Wisp needs to be there, but
at that tier 2 mid, that should have been Morphling walking up to that tower, hitting that tower, and having Wisp behind him, and he can tether and overcharge him so they can kill the tower faster. Ursa should not be showing his face.
Okay, let's take a look at the scoreboard and show you how exactly it broke down for game number 2, where it all went wrong for Newbee as OG continue their way through this upper bracket. They are in the upper bracket final now. Anna, again, the standout with the scoreboard, 13-3-8 from Anna, and very good late game.
Yeah, Anna, other than that one black hole mistake, I think he played really, really well.
Yeah.
I am a huge believer in Enigma now. That hero is very strong. I mean, they first 2'd this game, and all they did was ban Silencer, and he had a huge impact on the game. He was a huge threat. They were afraid to team fight, and every team fight they did take, they lost handedly.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's a huge amount of Enigma during the group stage.
We did it.
None, just that one by OG right at the end, I think, and then all of a sudden it's the hero of the meta, and it gets them to top 3. That's pretty incredible. On a good team to have a hero like that, like literally the build is just the Midas to get on lower cooldown and higher GPM, and all of a sudden he gets every item he wants, and they can rely on all the other things. Like his weaknesses are just gone as a hero because they can power level and get those cooldowns.
Yeah, the fact that Warlock seems to be not much of a threat for OG really does say it all about the Enigma.
I don't think that will be the last Enigma we see today.
I think you might be right,
Peter. We only really seen OG play, but I got a feeling a lot of other teams are watching OG play and saying, these guys are, potentially the best right now, so we should see what they're doing and maybe kind of emulate it a little bit.
Yep, I think there's a few Enigma players out there licking their lips at the opportunity to bring out the man with the black hole. We've got another social media question for you. Do keep them coming in the Reddit thread. We do enjoy your questions, and we'll get as many as we can onto the show throughout the day. Who's the best player mechanically at the moment? Peter, can you answer that one?
Oh, wow.
Jesus.
I think Jerax is super good.
Did the best game in the last.
I think he's a little unfamiliar with. I think it's Monkey King.
Yeah, isn't as sharp
but
as some of the
we see him on like
others.
Earth Spirit and Tusk, and he does amazing things.
Yeah.
I think Sumail is really good. I think
SCC mechanically is very strong.
Of course, yeah. A lot of the flashy mid players I would rate up there very high mechanically, but for supports, I think Jerax very impressive on a lot of his heroes. He knows incredibly well.
Okay. All right, well, we're going to head to a break now. It's an extended break as we set up our next best of 3. Don't go too far away, though, because next up, it's the perennial underdogs, Empire, going up against IG. We'll see you soon.
Finally, time to catch up on those episodes I missed.
Just wait till he finds out the hero dies in this episode.
Huh?
Don't worry, he comes back to life again in the next one. Screen time is more fun with M&Ms.